Pugs and Parker caption up there. That's from last night. I apologize. Hold on. Restart. Hold up. Hey. Hold on. I can't find the Pugs and Parker thing. Hide. There we go. I apologize. Hold on. I got a little bit started early. Boom, 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 boom. Come on, chat room. Come on in. You guys, we're just cleaning up here. We're just opening it up. Come on and grab a seat. Hold on. We'll get the music going. We'll get everything. The dog is good. All right. And hi, Al. How are you? Welcome. Here we go. Let's start this again. We'll try this again. Hold on. We'll just one more time. All right, that's it. We don't need that. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Tuesday afternoon. Hi, Jen. Hey, Byron, Whitney. Come on in, chat room. Gather around. Beanbag chairs, soul circle of life. Join hands, positive thoughts. That's what we do. I'm Pugs Moran. This is the High Noon Report. We do this every Monday through Friday, noon till whenever the news runs out. We shoot for about 2 hours. Typically, we go a little bit over, maybe. I think I can say typically now that we go over 2 hours because yesterday was another one of them 3:30 shows. So really all depends on how we're vibing. Really all depends on how the news is popping, whatever's crackling. It's not even a phrase people use. I don't know. Hold on. I got to fix this light. Look. These ring lights that we use for these kinds of, you can see them in the Pugs and Company sign. You can see the poor placement of the ring lights. They're, obscure. Here, like see that little backwards. Hold on. So it's gotta be like right here. Like right here, like that. And then over here. Here's no. Those are the ring lights. I freak out because I think that the ring lights are gonna cause a fire if I leave them on, but they don't get hot. That's the whole point of it. It's not a real light. It's gas in there. They don't get hot. So I don't know. I got to get over that. Feel a little bit weird, a little bit all over the road right now. Can you tell? This is why the show usually starts at 12:06. I went 4 minutes early. So you're going to get 4 minutes of discombobulated pubs. Discombobulated pubs. Hi, Ma Beller. How's Florida? Still in Florida, or do you have to come home? That's the thing about Florida. You have to come home. Can't live there. Couldn't live there. Too hot. Mosquitoes. Weirdness. Trailer parks. But nice to visit. Wonderful to visit. Happiest place on earth for a vacation. All right, let's get started. Today is, let me see. I'm so out of sorts. A cup of coffee is going to calm me down. As always, we beg you to tip the show if you can. Venmo, Cash App, all that stuff. We appreciate it. Show runs on your tips. Also, the show would like to thank Sacred Oils for stepping up and helping us out in the month of May. We're going to carry over the Sacred Oils promotion. Why? Because, dude, they stepped up. They were nice to us. So, CBDs and all that stuff. If you like CBDs, Sacred Oils, 13740 Midway Road in Farmers Branch. Pugs 20. Just tell them Pugs 20. You buy anything from them, Pugs 20. They'll give you 20% off. That's not bad. Why would you buy stuff from them? Well, because they've got the CBDs and all that stuff. The good. If you're into the CBDs, or maybe you're not into the CBDs yet, but you've heard about it because everybody's talking about what CBDs do for everything from tired bones to achy muscles to a cluttered head to arthritis. All these things. People have said that they use it for all these. Look, there are CBD stores everywhere. So what that tells you is that, at least for some people, it works. Some people are buying this stuff. So my question to you is, have you tried CBDs? Have you tried the Deltas? Do you like to get high, but you don't want it? It's illegal. Well, there is a loophole in the law that here in Texas allows for full legal, I don't know what you'd call it, the legal sale of stuff that'll get you high. And, you can get all that at CBD stores now in Texas. But if you're going to get all that kind of stuff, I'd like you to go to Sacred Oils, 13740 Midway Road, 13740 Midway Road. Tell them Pugs 20. You'll get 20% off. They helped us. So if you're a part of the show, help them out as well. Thank you so much. Love you. And that's all we'll do for that right now. Here's what we do on this show. We'd like to bring you up to speed on all the things that are being discussed. Headlines, hot topics, current events, trends, whatever it is that's popping off in the world right now at this moment. I try and cover them for you, but we do it in a couple of stages. This show has the first stage, which is erstwhile on this day. It's my little version of this day in history. We go back and we see the events that have shaped this day's in the past. Why? Well, maybe we'll find rhythms and patterns. Maybe we'll just be given some clues as to what we can expect in the coming hours. Then we go into birthdays, people born on this day. We talk about them. We talk about their contributions. We talk about maybe they're bad guys. Who knows? We cover the notable people who were born on this day. Then we go into the mornings. Then we go into the people that we miss. Maybe the people we don't miss, it depends. But we call that segment, these are the people who died. These are the people who died. Do we care? And we just we talk about them a little bit, and then we just say, then do we care that they died? And we're not mean. It's not like we're mean people like, oh, screw them, they died. No, we're being cold for sure. But sometimes, life demands frigidity. Is that a word? Frigidity? Rigidity is a word. Why wouldn't frigidity be a word? Okay, so anyway. You get rigidity when you are frigidity. We know this for a fact. We know that there are a lot of a-holes out there, and we also know that everyone dies. Vis-a-vis, a-holes die every day, and we try and figure out if any of them died on this day. Then, after we've done the erstwhile on this day, happy birthday, and these are the people who died. These are the people who died. Do we care? After we do those three segments, we move seamlessly into the hot topics, trends, and headlines of the day. So, if y'all ready, buckle up with me and let's get this thing started. It is high noon for the 6th day of June, year of our Lord, 2023. June 6th is the 157th day of the year. There are 208. 200 more. There are 208 days remaining until the end of the year. Let's go through... Leslie, I gotta beg you, do not dominate the chat room. When you dominate the chat room, people don't talk. So come on. Here's a rule for anyone. We'll call it the Leslie rule, but it's a rule for anyone. Unless you're explaining something, never post more than 3 in a row. And if you post 3 in a row, wait for at least one more person to chime in after you before you do it again. It's just, it's dominant. Please, I appreciate you hanging out. I think that's great, but just don't dominate. It's a conversation and I'm trying to get started here. On this day, erstwhile in history is what we call this little segment. On this day in 1889, the Great Seattle Fire destroys all of downtown Seattle. You ever heard of this? I've never heard of the Great Seattle Fire. I know of the Chicago Fire, but maybe that's because I live there. But even because I live there, I mean, there've been movies about the Chicago Fire. Why is the Chicago Fire so much more famous than the Seattle Fire? Because this is a big one. Destroyed all of downtown Seattle on this day in 1889. Speaking of my hometown, it was on this day in 1892 that the Chicago the elevated rail system, begins operation. On this day in 1892. And the last day they cleaned them. That's right. On this day in 1925, the original Chrysler Motor Corporation was founded by Walter Chrysler from the remains of the Maxwell Motor Company. Walter Chrysler is an interesting dude because it was Henry Ford's. Walter Chrysler was like Henry Ford's top dude. He was like Henry Ford. Like Henry Ford was like, I'm Henry Ford, I get all the credit. But there was a dude behind the scenes named Walter Chrysler who was actually doing all the really hard work. And Walter Chrysler at some point went, Henry, I'm out of here. And so he bought this struggling little motor company called Maxwell Motors, and he transformed it into Walter Chrysler Motors. And now we have Chrysler. On this day that occurred, 1925. On this day in 1933, the first drive-in theater opens in Camden, New Jersey. Okay. Drive-in movie theaters, not really a big part of my life. We had a drive-in movie theater near my house where we grew up, the I-80 drive-in. It's now a CarMax. The I-80 drive-in was probably, I don't know, miles. I could ride my bike to it. It wasn't that far from where I grew up. But we hardly ever went. It wasn't a thing in the 80s. It just I mean, I remember in high school going to the drive-in in 4 years, maybe twice with a group of friends, you know? You see all these, like, romanticized tales of drive-in culture back from the '60s and stuff with kids sneaking kids in the trunk of the car and, all that stuff. Making out in backseat. We didn't have any of that. I think I saw Dirty Dancing at a drive-in once. I don't even know. However, I have thought about this in recent times. Is the drive-in due for a comeback? And if so, how do we make it better? Because the drive-in experience, as I recall it, wasn't great. I remember sitting there watching a movie on a screen that had shotgun blasts in it. I mean, it was funky. The screen wasn't good. I mean, the resolution was, the sound was horrid, horrid. So there's got to be ways now that you could probably Bluetooth the sound, right? You could probably do that. So sound wouldn't be a problem. You might be able to just wear headphones in your car or put it through your car stereo, whatever. So sound, I think, with modern technology, with a new drive-in would work. But what else? There's got to be because here's what I think. I don't like going to movie theaters. I don't. I never really enjoyed the movie theater going experience, probably because I have to wear pants, and I prefer to not wear pants when I watch a movie. And taking your pants off in a movie theater is not acceptable. So I've always felt a little bit uncomfortable at movie theaters. But also, let me be honest. I just don't like the idea of being in closed quarters with with a whole group of other people in these crazy times. Yeah, whatever. It's just my thing. Hey, I'm not scared. I'm just cautious. I'm just like, okay, we live in a world with crazy people. So let's make sure that we're frosty at all times. I think that a drive-in movie theater could be something that brings people back to the theater. It's not a traditional theater. It's not one of these brick and mortar things. Although, can we point out how amazing the modern movie-going experience is? I mean, if you're willing to pay $150 to go to a movie, you can have a really good time now. You get the luxury seats. They have waitresses. You can get a full meal. You can pound drinks. I mean, that's very nice. And they've made all of these changes. But still, still at a movie theater. So how could we make a drive-in cooler? Like what would be cool about a drive-in? I don't know, but I do think that, drive-in theater, the idea of being able to drive into a movie, feel safe and secure in your own car, even though, that might be a mirage. You might not be safe and secure in your own car. Or maybe you feel a little bit safer than, I don't know. I'm just saying, I think drive-in movie theaters, I would buy a drive-in movie theater. Try and make it something. I think you could make it a go. Maybe drive-ins, were they bigger in like rural areas? Because the drive-in that I went to as a kid was in what was then a rural area. It's not a rural area anymore. It's now a CarMax with a mall around it and hotels and stuff. But at the time when I was in high school, it was a rural area. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's why drive-ins weren't a big part of my culture, because I was more of an urban kid, more of like, buses and trains and stuff like that. So big cities. We didn't really have drive-ins. There was no drive-ins in Chicago. I think there was one in the no. Yes, there was. There was a drive-in movie theater off Western in Columbus. Okay, that means nothing to you. So we'll move on. Drive-in movie theaters. The first one opened on this day back in 1933. On this day in 1942, the United States Navy's victory over the Imperial Japanese Navy at the Battle of Midway is a major turning point in the Pacific Theater. All 4 Japanese fleet carriers taking part, the Akagi, the Kaga, the Soryu, the Haruyu, and they're all sunk. We sunk all 4. They sent 4 carriers into this battle. We sunk them all. However, we didn't get out unscathed, because this is, of course, Midway, where we lost the Yorktown and something else. I'm sorry. I hate to say this. Forget the other boat. But the Yorktown was the big one. We lost the Yorktown at the Battle of Midway. But for my money, and I've always vacillated back and forth with my interest in World War II. Like, sometimes I'm all about, the European theater and you know the invasion and Eisenhower and Patton and Bradley and all those guys. Sometimes I'm all about that, but other times I'm just all about MacArthur because Douglas MacArthur was. I like him. I know that Douglas MacArthur is a controversial figure, but I kind of like the man. I think he was a man for his time. I think World War II, America needed Douglas MacArthur. Hold on, sneezing. Man, that was a loud one. So Midway was a huge deal. 1942 on this day, the United States victory at the Battle of Midway. Why was it a big deal? Because it showed that the United States could get that close. It showed that we could start pushing the Imperial Japanese Navy, the vaunted Japanese Navy. We were able to push them back. We were able to push. Basically, we were playing an away game, and we were able to push them back. And that basically, what it did to the psyche of the Japanese military was like, oh God, now we're retreating. Now we're fighting closer and closer to Tokyo, which is what they were trying to protect. That was on this day in 1942, United States Navy's victory over the Imperial Japanese Navy at the Battle of Midway. The biggest event in the Pacific Theater, I think, a turning point of the war. Also on this day, this is how I vacillate back and forth. 1944, commencement of Operation Overlord, the Allied invasion of Normandy with the execution of Operation Neptune, commonly referred to as D-Day, the largest seaborne invasion in history. Nearly 160,000 Allied troops crossed the English Channel, with about 5,000 landing and assault craft, 289 escort vessels, and 277 minesweepers participating. By the end of the day, the Allies had landed on 5 invasion beaches and are pushing inland. Another major turning point in the war. So this is what I say when I like to go through the erstwhile on this day in 1942 on this day, major turning point in the Pacific Theater. 1944, 2 years later on this day, major turning point in the European theater. We have rhythms. There are patterns to things that occur on these days. And this is another example of that exact same day. Another example, a couple of days ago, it was the anniversary of the birth of Ray Combs, the second host of Family Feud. That day was also the anniversary of the death of Richard Dawson, the original host of Family Feud. See, weird things, man. I'm just telling you, we notice weird things when we go through the events of history. On this day in 1985, that's right, absolutely nothing happened between D-Day and 1985. The grave of Wolfgang Gerhard is exhumed in Embu, Brazil. They just went and they dug up this dude. They're like, hey, Wolfgang Gerhard, let's dig up his grave. Why'd they do it? Because it turned out it was Mengele. That's right, Josef Mengele. One of the true monsters of the Nazi party, Joseph Mengele, was the doctor who experimented on live people. You know, he didn't use lab rats. He used humans, did all kinds of things to humans, children, and the whatnot. Mentally retarded, minorities, Jews, certainly, did all kinds of terrible, terrible experiments. Josef Mengele was an absolute monster, and he was doubly so because he was a doctor, and, you know, the Hippocratic Oath and whatnot. He was an absolute monster. Hitler's the guy, right? We all know Hitler's the guy, but man, there are other people that I think that, you know, within the Nazi party are really bad. Didn't we talk about, was it Himmler? Was it, was it Himmler, the guy from a couple of days ago, the leader of the SS? Final Solution author, the guy who came up with that. See, now that's the guy who put the bug in Hitler's ear where we could just kill all the Jews. You know, so that guy's a monster. That guy's certainly a monster. Mengele is definitely a monster too. You know who's not? Well, a monster. He's a monster, and he's probably a serious a-hole in his own right. But you know who's not really like a Nazi monster? Is Goering. Hermann Goering was just an a-hole. Hermann Goering was just a bad human. He wasn't a Nazi. Like, he wasn't like all in on the Nazi thing. He didn't give a shit. Like, he was like, I don't care, whatever, as long as I get the spotlight. Because that's what Goering was about. Goering was jealous of Hitler because Goering thought that if anybody was going to be the leader of Germany, it should be him, because Goering was the most famous and well-known military man in Germany at the time. He was like a superstar. He was a flying ace in World War I. He was like the Red Baron. He was like super, you know. Anyway, Mengele was a bad guy, and we finally figured out that was him in the grave in Brazil. He got away, 1985. All right, that concludes Erstwhile on this day. I know, right? Not a whole lot of stuff happening on this day. So let's move into Wana. Today is your birthday. I don't pay for the rights to songs, so I have to sing them. Born on this day in 1775, we take our hats off and we salute Nathan Hale, fine American patriot. Oh, by the way, I need to mention something. I just did the whole take the hat off thing because I have to note when I take, but I just doffed the cap. You may have noticed during these high noon shows, the programming note, you may have noticed during these high noon shows that I have been consistently wearing the exact same shirt every day. And that is for editing purposes. So I do apologize. It's not that I only have one shirt. It's just that I realized that maybe if I dressed more consistently, I'd be able to mix and match some of the things for, best of tapes and all that. Whatever. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to think more strategically about this whole platform. So that's why every noon show I'll probably be wearing this. Kevin says, Hitler, not shrinkers. Proofread, Kev. Proofread. Okay, I got you. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin dropped a tip yesterday. Appreciate that, man. That means a lot to me coming from you. Kevin's one of my oldest friends. That's really cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you good folks who helped out yesterday. But the hill has not been climbed. So anything you can drop in is appreciated. Thank you, Kevin. Oh, by the way, hey Kev. Yeah, this is the part of the show where I just talk to someone. The rest of you can just pay attention. Kevin, you'll appreciate this. So we're driving home from the lake. We're driving home from the lake on Saturday, and my 14-year-old son is sitting in the front seat. He's all sunburned and he's like exhausted and he's buried in his phone because that's what kids do. And he turns to me and he goes, "Dad, guess what?" And I go, "What?" He goes, Duran is playing Saturday." And I go, "What?" Now, I don't know if I knew this or not, but I was like, I don't go to concerts. Like concerts are expensive. That's like, I got to phone. If I want to go to concerts, I got to like cash in chits. You know what I mean? Like I got to call people. Hey man, you got some tickets laying around, that kind of thing. And you don't want to call and shit. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. But my 14-year-old kid is all excited about Duran on Saturday. So I pick up the phone and I'm like, okay, well, maybe we can do this. Maybe this can be a thing. So I pick up the phone and I call our good pal, old Uncle Dr. Schwartz. And I'm like, Schwartz, Duran, Saturday, American Airlines Center. Any interest? And he calls me right back. Yes, I'm in. So trying to figure out a way to get that done, to take my 14-year-old son to see Duran. I bring this up with Kevin is because there is no bigger fan of Duran in the world than Kevin. He took a lot of arrows in high school for that because, the cool guys with, but Kevin knew that like, 40 years later that people would still be seeing Duran in packed arenas and that they'd be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all that. He knew it was the jugheads that were like, I like Iron Maiden. First, here's kind of what I'm a little upset about. If we are able to pull this Duran concert off with the lovely Schwartzes, if we are able to pull this off, this will be my son's second concert. His first concert, also provided by Schwartz. Schwartz was going to the Smashing Pumpkins concert, and Dr. Schwartz calls me and he's like, I can't go to the Pumpkins concert. Any interest? You want these tickets? They're really good. And it just so happened that me and my kid were sitting on the couch watching TV. And we had just said to each other, what do you want to do tonight? We had no plans. And we're like, want to go to a concert? So my son's first concert was Smashing Pumpkins and Jane's Addiction. And that's great. That's a cool first concert, I think. However, my first concert that I ever went to was Duran. So now my kid's second concert is going to be Duran. And I just kind of would have liked the symmetry if like his first concert was Duran and my first concert was Duran. But I didn't get that. All right, let's go into, we talked about Nathan Hale. Nathan Hale, he was an American patriot. He was born on this day in 1755. I don't know what Nathan Hale did. Nathan Hale did stuff. I know he's a patriot. I salute you. Wrong, incorrectly. I salute you. There you go. Born on this day in 1944. Tommy Smith, American sprinter, former NFL football player, winner of the 1968 Olympic 200-meter gold medal in world record time. Now, why do we remember just this random? Because it was 68, it was Tommy Smith, and it was the Black Power salute. Tommy Smith and John Carlos, man. They get up there for the United States on the podium during the middle of the whole civil rights movement and all of that stuff, and they wear the black glove, and they raise their hand in protest of civil rights, or not in protest, in support of civil rights. And it became a thing. How dare they? They went through some stuff in the days and weeks and months that followed, even years. John Carlos and Tommy Smith went through some stuff. And guess what they are now? They're dudes who have schools named after them. They're dudes who have statues. So, it takes a lot of balls to be somebody who's going to be remembered, because you may not be appreciated for what you do in the moment. In fact, it may be a bit too provocative for the minds of the day. But history will judge you differently. History will take a 30,000-foot look, and they will write books, and the nuance of what you were doing will be explained, and people will all of a sudden have a completely different idea about what you were trying to do. They were called Black Panthers. They were called Black Terrorists because they dared win Olympic gold and silver and then stand on the podium and give that salute, that thing. Shut up. That's just the thing they're doing. How does that affect you? All of these snowflakes who are like, oh, we put a fist in the air. That somehow takes something away from me. Stop it. Shut up. This was a thing they did for themselves. It's a thing they did for something they believe in. And history has said that they're heroes. So bite it. There you go. On this day, Tommy Smith, American sprinter, born. Here's another one. Here's another dude. We love this dude. Born on this day in 1947. Robert Englund. You know who Robert Englund is? Freddy Krueger. It's Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger was born on this day in 1947. He's not doing he just announced recently that he'll never play Freddy Krueger again. He's too old, and Freddy's too strong, and he has to, even in the acting, he's got to do too many things that old Robert Englund can't necessarily do anymore. So thank you, sir, Robert Englund. Will we get a new Freddy Krueger? Like will there be a whole new generation? Like Bond? Will Freddy Krueger live in infamy? Will he go on 50 years from now? Will they be making new Freddy Krueger movies? And will it be like, I don't know, Justin Bieber's kid, it's like the new Freddy Krueger. I don't know. I can't tell the future. Happy birthday, Freddy Krueger, born on this day in 1947. Born on this day in 1954, Broadway legend, American actor and playwright, winner of 4 Tony Awards, an award that totally doesn't count. Don't get me started on my Tony Awards. On my Tony, they ain't my Tony Award. Broadway. I hate Broadway. I think Broadway is such BS. She's a Broadway star. No, she's not. She's a Broadway employee. Nobody knows who people on Broadway are. Are you kidding me? You know who goes to Broadway? Wealthy women from the suburbs of New Jersey and tourists to New York. That's it. No one in Iowa knows anything about Broadway. These Tony Awards, they're shoved down our throat. They used to put them on TV. They used to interrupt regularly scheduled programming so that people on Broadway could pretend that they're as famous as people on TV and movies, and they're not. I didn't even tell you whose birthday it is, did I? Ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday to Broadway legend Harvey Feinstein. Harvey Feinstein. I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? Harvey Fierstein, born on this day in 1954. Born on this day in 1956, Sam Simon, true genius. Sam Simon, American director, producer, and screenwriter, co-developer of The Simpsons, died sadly in 2015. Cancer. Sam Simon. We see his name every episode of The Simpsons. Sam Simon. Born on this day in 1955. Born on this day in 1956, Björn. Swedish tennis player, winner of 11 Grand Slam singles titles, including 5 consecutive Wimbledons. Happy birthday to you, born on this day in 1956. Björn. Born on this day in 1959, Colin Quinn, American comedian and actor. I like Colin Quinn. Colin Quinn, one of the great experiences of my life I'm a comedy freak. I'm a stand-up comedy freak. And I don't think Colin Quinn is like one of the great comics of all time. I think Colin Quinn is an interesting personality and a fun guy and a nice guy and a cool guy. But, his stand-up is okay. I don't think he's necessarily great. I would go see him because I like him, because I'm like, God, this guy's good. This guy's cool, right? That's where he is. But he's not, to me, he's not Seinfeld. He's not Chappelle. He's not like crushing it. He's not Mulaney. He's all right. But, my partner Kelly and I went to New York. We were being recruited by Sirius XM, and we were secretly taken to New York and wined and dined. And one of the people that took us out and was basically our escort while we were in New York on this trip was Opie of the Opie and Anthony show, because they had signed to Sirius and they were trying to get us over there, and we were in contract negotiations with Dallas, and we were really going to go. I really wanted to go. Things changed, but I really wanted to go. I really wanted to go to New York. I really wanted to live in New York and work in New York and work in media in New York, because when you work in broadcasting in America or media in America, that's the major leagues. We have major markets, which are good, which are really good, which technically I guess are the major leagues. But New York is the Yankees of broadcasting. So I really wanted to go. But part of the wining and dining experience, Opie took us around to all the comedy clubs. What we ended up doing on the Saturday night was going out to dinner, then having drinks, and then spending the whole night going from comedy club to comedy club to comedy club to comedy club with Jim Norton, who was doing his Saturday night in New York regular thing, which is you jump up on the stage at the Comedy Cellar, you do your set, you get in the car, you drive up north, you go to Caroline's, you park, you get out, you go up on stage, you do your thing at Caroline's, you get in the car, you drive to another comedy, all night long, just comedy clubs. And we're just, we're in Norton's entourage, and it's me, Kelly, and Ope, and, we're just standing in the wings of all these. It was really interesting. It was fascinating. But what I loved was the night ended with us back at the Comedy Cellar. That's sort of the legendary New York club. So we ended up back at the Comedy Cellar, and I got to sit at that table. There was a very famous comedy table at the Comedy Cellar, and it's the table that all the performing comics sit at. There was a restaurant above the Comedy Cellar. It's like a Middle Eastern food restaurant, kebabs and all that kind of stuff. And it's always jam-packed because all the people who are going to the Comedy Cellar come up there for drinks and all that. And the comedians who are going on stage have this big, giant round table. And it is a very famous table in comedy circles because it's where some of the great comedy arguments and comedy discussions have occurred. And we're sitting at this table. And it was me, my partner Kelly, and Opie from the Opie and Anthony show. So 3 radio people, and they were nice to us because touring comics need local radio people on their side. Because when they come to town, they need to be able to go on that local person's show and be like, "Yeah, we're buddies. Come out, see the show." Sell tickets. That's the deal. So we were being treated well. We were being treated very nicely. And Colin Quinn was there. It was Colin Quinn, Patrice O'Neill, Nick DiPaolo, not Bill Burr. Colin Quinn, Bill, what was that other guy's name? I can't think of him. Bill. Colin Quinn, Patrice O'Neill, Nick DiPaolo, Opie, me, Kelly, and Bill. What was Bill's last name? Bill was like a local. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get bogged down in it. Today's Colin Quinn's birthday. And I got to sit there. I got to just watch that table of all of these great comedians. And my point, long story short, my point is that Colin Quinn was the king of that table. It was like maybe he's the elder statesman to these guys, but what he said, he pretty much directed the flow of the comedy conversation at that table. One of the great moments of my life. One of the great fly on the wall moments of my life was to be able to sit at that Comedy Cellar table with those guys and just watch them destroy each other. Just the meanest, most vulgar comedy. And it was very fun. So I think that's a documentary, and I know that there's a number of things on YouTube about it, but a real serious documentary about the Comedy Cellar needs to be done. It seems like all the great comedy documentaries are done about the California clubs, the Improv or the Pauly Shore's Club, whatever that is. But the New York Comedy Cellar is like so important. I don't understand why it's not more. Maybe that's why it's cooler, because it's not so. It's a little bit more like, nah, this is the real thing. Those people out there in California, they're looking for TV deals. These people here, these are comics. These are people trying to make you laugh. Colin Quinn, born on this day in 1959. Happy birthday, Colin. You're a good dude. He's a good dude. He was a nice guy. Born on this day in 1960, Steve Vai. Bum, 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 bum. Damn it. What? I'm talking about a Yankee Rose. Steve Vai. Steve Vai is awesome. Steve Vai first, I wasn't a big guitar guy, right? I wasn't a musician guy, but Steve Vai first came into my radar when he joined David Lee Roth post Van Halen and Yankee Rose. That was the song where Steve Vai is Steve Vai on guitar is having a full conversation with David Lee Roth with his guitar. Dave's talking to the guitar and the guitar is talking back. Steve Vai, incredible guitar player, incredible, and really cool guy. Like if you've ever seen any interviews with him, he is so humble. He is so humble, and he is so, like, for instance, there's an interview on YouTube that I saw once. And actually not once, it was recently, because my kid is really into Eddie Van Halen, and he's really into he loves David Lee Roth, all of this stuff. He's been exposed to it, and he's like, I'm in. I like this. So we were learning about the differences between Steve Vai and Eddie Van Halen, and we were watching a YouTube clip, and Steve Vai was asked about replacing, or theoretically replacing, Eddie Van Halen as David Lee Roth's lead guitar virtuoso. And Steve Vai was so cool about that. I mean, he said, well, because there's a lot of pressure on that because, Eddie Van Halen is the greatest, and I love Eddie, and I wouldn't want to do anything that would make Eddie. He was so classy. Like, Steve Vai was just so cool about it, as opposed to, like, I don't know, any number of modern people, especially in the hip hop world, where they'd be like, I'm better than him. I'm better. It's all this humility. Humility is a trait that I absolutely adore in people, and Steve Vai seems to have it. And Steve Vai doesn't need to have humility, because I think we all know that Steve Vai is one of the great master technicians of the guitar of all time. Born on this day in 1960, Steve Vai. Born on this day in 1963, Jason Isaacs. Do you know who Jason Isaacs is? He's one of those That Guy actors. Go pull him up. Go to Google. Just open another window. You can keep listening. Just say Jason Isaacs, and then you'll see that guy, and you'll go, oh, I like that guy. Jason Isaacs, there was a Showtime show called Brotherhood. It's so good. It's like from 20 years ago. It didn't last. I don't think it only lasted 2 seasons, but Brotherhood is such a good movie. TV show series on Showtime. If you've Jeff Ballard, that's another one that I would drop on Jeff Ballard. Jeff Ballard, I would look for the show Brotherhood, starring Jason Isaacs and that other guy. There's another guy, the other guy that's in it with him. They play two brothers. They're both really famous right now. They're in everything, and you're like, oh, that guy. Jason Isaacs played the lead, the older brother, who was like this mob hitman kind of a thing. It's a mob show. It's kind of like, Sopranos-y, kind of like that. Brotherhood, so good. Brotherhood on Showtime. If you've never seen it, see it. Born on this day in 1967, Paul Giamatti, American actor and producer. I love Paul Giamatti. I think Paul Giamatti is great in everything that he does. He has such an interesting way of being awkward and confident at the same time. That's how I would describe Paul Giamatti's acting style. He's able to be awkward and uber confident at the same time. Like he's the ugly kid in school who can't get laid, but he can talk a girl into bed. You know what I mean? Like, he's got this he shouldn't have I don't know why he's got the confidence. He's great. Also, I'll say this about Paul Giamatti. And look at me. He's great. I love Paul Giamatti. But Paul Giamatti also fits into that thing that I got about Hollywood celebrities that we all love. And, oh, they made it. It's so hard to make it in Hollywood. Paul Giamatti came from big wealth, big, successful, powerful. Right about the time that Paul Giamatti was first starting to get roles in Hollywood, you know what his dad was? Commissioner of Major League Baseball. That's right. A. Bartlett Giamatti is Paul Giamatti's father. So, when Paul Giamatti graduated college or whatever it was, and he said, Dad, I want to go out to Hollywood. I want to try and make it. He was given a big old bag of money, and somebody said, go on every audition possible and don't bust any tables. Hey, I'm just pointing it out. Celebrities, all you got to do is pick your favorite celebrity, go to Wikipedia, and just read the early life segment. Learn where they came from. You're going to be shocked at how many of these kids. Her father owned more Ford dealerships in northern Missouri than any, you know what I mean? It's always that. It's something like that. It's like, oh, super rich kid. I get it. Rich kid again. The middle class or working class or farm kid who gets on a bus and shows up in Hollywood does not make it. That is a myth. Those people become drug addicts and prostitutes. Rich kids make it. Rich kids with connections make it. You think they're just going to let anybody be famous? No. Natalie Morales, 1972, American television journalist and NBC News anchor. Natalie Morales. She's a cutie, isn't she? She sure is. Born on this day in 1974, Uncle Kracker. I don't remember what he did. Didn't he have like one song? And wasn't it like a song from somebody else? Like, didn't he like cover a song? I don't know. Uncle Kracker, whatever. You could see him at Richardson Fest, I'm sure, or Carrollton Days. Uncle Kracker coming to a forgotten suburb festival near you. Born on this day in 1992. This is going to be the last one. DeAndre Hopkins, American football player, D-Hop. My son is a cowboy, a Dallas Cowboy meathead. And my son is absolutely convinced that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a cowboy. And I'm like, dude, he's not going to be a cowboy. They got Brandon Cooks. They got Brandon Cooks. They got CeeDee Lamb. They're not going to bring in DeAndre Hopkins. And he's very upset about that. He's good. Because yesterday I had to send him this thing where Stephen Jones said, we're good with our receivers. We ain't interested in DeAndre Hopkins. My son really wants DeAndre Hopkins. I keep telling my son and I got into a big fight because I did a Dickie Dad thing where I just kind of shoot down something that he says and he didn't take it well. Like he goes, yeah, well, we got Brandon Cooks this year. That's pretty cool. And I turned to him and I go, be cooler if we had him 2 years ago. He got so mad at me. He got so mad. I'm like, well, he's just he's a little bit older. Brandon Cooks is fine. He's gonna be great. I'm sure he's gonna be great, but you know. DeAndre Hopkins, born on this day in 1992. How about some deaths? Let's do some people who have passed away on this day. These are the people who've died. These are the people who've died. Do we care? We talk a little bit about what they contributed, and then we decide, should we move on? Dead on this day in 1799, Patrick Henry, American lawyer and politician, the first governor of Virginia. Patrick Henry, he's the give me liberty or give me death guy, right? Do we care? Of course we do. What are you, communist? Of course we do. What are you, a King George guy? What's going on with you? Why wouldn't we care? Born on this day in dead on this day in 1941. Louis Chevrolet. Louis Chevrolet, Swiss-American race car driver and businessman. He founded the Chevrolet Corporation. 1941, Louis Chevrolet died. That's a pretty name. Have you ever heard it associated as that? Like, I think Chevrolet, it's car. Well, you put it as a name. Like that would be a pretty name for like a hot girl. My name is Amanda Chevrolet. You know, it's very sexy. Very, very Chevrolet. Do we care? No, we don't care because we've probably never even heard of this guy until now. He's not Henry Ford. He's not Walter Chrysler. He's Chevrolet. His namesake went on. His namesake is huge, but I didn't know that there was a Louis Chevrolet until today. Happy death day, though. Dead on this day in 1968, Robert F. Kennedy, running for president. No, we talked about this yesterday. Yesterday was the assassination. And I think he died instantly. But here's the deal. I think it was like close to midnight, you know, so it changes over. So officially, I think the death certificate for Robert F. Kennedy was signed. Well, it was officially signed today. So officially, Robert Kennedy died today, even though yesterday was the anniversary of the assassination. 1968. Excuse me. Dead on this. Oh, do we care? Do we care about Bobby Kennedy? Yeah, we do. Of course we do. Of course we do. Terrible moment in American history. J. Paul Getty, American businessman, founder of the Getty Oil Company. J. Paul Getty died on this day in 1976. Talk about a piece of ass. This guy was a major piece of ass. You ever seen that movie about how his grandkid got kidnapped and then he like did nothing? He was like, "That's too much money. That kid ain't worth that much." So you know what? You piece of garbage. No, we do not care that J. Paul Getty died on this day. How about Jack Haley? Jack Haley, American actor. You know who he is? No, but you know his most iconic role. Jack Haley, the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. Do we care? Of course we care. Of course we care. If I only had a heart. Dead on this day in 2005. Anne Bancroft, American film actress, winner of the 1963 Academy Award for Best Actress for her role as Annie Sullivan in The Miracle Worker. And Anne Bancroft was a fabulous babe. Wasn't she also Mrs. Robinson? Right? The Graduate. Wasn't she Mrs. Robinson in The Graduate, the hot MILF that was seducing a young Dustin Hoffman? I think it was. Anne Bancroft was also married to Mel Brooks for a lot of years. They were a big, hot Hollywood couple. They were the the Ashton Kutcher and the Mila Kunis of their day. And Bancroft, and she died in 2005, and it was a big surprise to a lot of people because she hadn't revealed to anyone that she was sick and that she had been working straight up until her death. And by working, I mean, just doing small projects, like little things that she would do for fun. For instance, one of the last things that she did was with her husband, Mel Brooks, playing herself on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't know if you remember the story arc on Curb Your Enthusiasm, where Larry David was cast in a new production of The Producers, a Mel Brooks produced Broadway play. So Mel Brooks was like a regular on Curb Your Enthusiasm for almost a whole season. And Anne Bancroft, who played Mel Brooks's wife, obviously playing herself, an animated version of herself was in that as well. And she was really funny. And then it was like, I don't know, that airs and like a couple of days later she dies or something. I don't know. It was just very strange because she looked fine. She looked fine in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Anne Bancroft, dead on this day, took care of Mel Brooks. Do we care? Yeah, we care. Yeah, of course we care. She's Mrs. Robinson. Cuckoo, ka-choo, Anne Bancroft. Dead on this day in 2006, Billy Preston, American singer, songwriter, pianist, and actor, best known as the Fifth Beatle. When the Beatles had a keyboard player and needed a keyboard player, it was Billy Preston. Billy Preston was a guy and Billy Preston had talked about this, about how weird it was, because the Beatles, even though they were the freaking Beatles at the time, the Beatles worshipped Billy Preston. They thought that he was one of Mozart is what John Lennon called him. They thought that he was like the greatest musical mind of the time. And I don't know that much about Billy Preston, but I certainly will take a back seat to what a Beatle says about somebody else who does music, right? I would think that they might have a little bit better perspective on it than I do. Billy Preston, he was cool. All those like Get Back and all any Beatles, any late Beatles film that you see of them performing, you'll always see Billy Preston up there on stage with them playing the keyboards. Get back, JoJo. That's Billy Preston. That's Billy Preston doing all that. Billy Preston went on to have a whole bunch of hits of his own in the 1970s. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. Billy Preston. Do we care? Yes, we care. Billy Preston was pretty awesome. Billy Preston, dead on this day in 2006. Finally, the last death that we're going to cover here, Esther Williams. Okay. All right. God love her. I got no hate for Esther Williams. But you know how I always say, I give very little regard to anybody that was famous in the 1940s or 1950s, with the exception of a couple of obvious ones. You got your Hepburns and you got your Betty Davises and your Cary Grants and your Spencer Tracys and, all that stuff. Yeah, there are some exceptions. But a lot of the people who were made famous by Hollywood had no business being famous. Esther Williams was a swimmer. Esther Williams was like an Olympic swimmer that got famous because I don't know if she won anything. I don't know what her deal was, but somehow she got famous and Hollywood went, she's kind of bangable. Let's put her in movies. And all of a sudden she's doing movies, but she couldn't act. She couldn't act at all. So they went, okay, how do we save this sinking ship? And let's just make movies about swimming. It's like, have you ever seen these old Hollywood films where like there's people in a pool with fans and stuff? That was all Esther Williams. But it's like Esther Williams in a pool with some Busby Berkeley choreography. And it's just crazy. Do we care about Esther Williams? I mean, we care, but we don't care. We don't. That's like, are you kidding me? You were made famous because you were a name. All right, that's going to do it. Those are all of the things. Those are the events that have shaped this day. We've been through the erstwhile on this day. We've been through the birthdays, and then we've just decided the fates of a lot of people who passed away. Let's move into the topics that are shaping this very day. Do you feel like we understand what this day has represented? Because I do. I feel good about it. Let's move on. Here we go. So this is the first story, but it's a story that I don't even know how to talk about because there's so much back and forth on this. Here's what we know. The Ukrainian offensive, okay? The Ukrainian offensive has been rumored to be getting ready for a few days now. Any minute now, we're waiting for the Ukrainian army's big offensive. See, now, this entire war that's been going on for a year and a half, the Ukrainian army has been playing defense. They've been sitting back and they've been defending their territories. They've lost the Donbas, but they've saved Kiev. Kiev and all the inner guts of the Ukraine, man, impenetrable to the mighty Russian forces. So they've done a really good job playing defense. And now it's been a year and a half of wrangling and political pearl clutching and all of this stuff. But over the past year or so, the world has basically said, all right, Ukraine, here you can have a bunch of our toys. Here you can have a bunch of our toys. Here's a bunch of our boom booms. Here's a bunch of our warplanes. The Ukraine military is big right now. Big and loaded up, and they are ready to go. So the offensive is beginning. The Ukraine is done being the defensive unit. All right. They are now going on the offensive, and that's supposed to be starting at any minute. So that's what we know. That's what we know. Now, last night, something occurred, something massive occurred, and it really is massive. I mean, we're talking about the potential loss of tens of thousands of lives, and we're talking about an entire region being uninhabitable for years. Okay. Last night, the Kakavoshka, trying to pronounce this right, Kakavoshka, Kakavoshka, the Kashkava. Oh my God, the Kakavashka, the Kakavashka hydroelectric power plant, which is a massive dam, one of the big Soviet-era dams that were built there on the Dnieper River to irrigate the lands of the Donbas and even provide drinking water to Crimea, all of Crimea, because that's on the Black Sea there. So this is how the people in the Crimea got their water and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, these dams were built on the Dnieper River. And by the way, that's how you pronounce that. Russian history. That's how I know how to pronounce. Yeah, I see all these news people going, the Dnipro River. I'm like, that's not how you say it. It's not pronounced the Dnipro River. It's pronounced the Dnieper. That's how it's pronounced. You have the Dnieper and you have the Dniester. Those are the two main, the Dnieper River and the Dniester River. Thank you to Mr. Krapowskis in all of my Russian history classes. I know how to do that. So, this dam burst. Now, in the beginning, by in the beginning, I mean late last night, the reports were Russia commits worst terrorism of the war. Consequences of blowing up the Kakavoshka hydroelectric power plant. Crimea will not have water for a decade. It's just going to ruin their water supply for a decade. Crimea will not have water for a decade. Hundreds of thousands of people's lives will be shattered. Thousands may drown to death. Okay, so this was the initial story. Then the Russian backed media got into it, and it became Ukraine commits the worst terrorism of the war. They are both blaming each other for this incredible human disaster. I mean, this is not a war. This is not blowing up an apartment building. This is something that is going to affect hundreds of thousands of people for years to come. And everybody's trying to figure out, Who benefits from this? Who benefits from this? Blowing up this dam and basically destroying this entire region. Who benefits from it? Now, here's my thinking on this because people are going back and forth on it. I'll tell you who benefits from it. Well, remember I told you about the offensive? If they are gearing up for an offensive, that offensive will be on the northern border, is what they're saying. An incursion into Russia is what Putin fears most. So he's got all of these people in the Donbas. He's got a lot of military in the Donbas. So if we are anticipating a Ukrainian offensive, it would make sense strategically for Putin to say, let's bring all of our troops out of the Donbas. Let's cede that region. You know, that was just the thing we took. But now they're coming at us in Russia. So let's move all of our equipment from the Donbas and let's get it up on the border so that we can dig in for this big so-called Ukrainian offensive. Now, I believe that upon pulling out, and there are troop movements happening. I mean, that's been reported. The Russians do appear in some way to be pulling out of that region. They went scorched earth. I believe that's what happened. I believe that the Russians on their way out of the Donbas region in order to protect against a Ukrainian offensive on the northern border has decided to go scorched earth. They blew up the dam, and now they have made that land basically inhabitable. They're like, essentially saying, okay, Ukraine, you want this? Here, have it now. And they just kind of ruined it. At any rate, it's a very big story. It is a very big international and global human, it's not human rights, but, you know, sort of, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. Collapse. I'll give you some details. I've freeballed my own opinions on it. So now I'll give you some details from how it's actually being put out there in the press. Collapse of critical Ukrainian dam sparks region-wide evacuations. Here's what we know. This is really a big global story. A major dam and hydroelectric power plant in Russia-occupied southern Ukraine suffered a collapse early Tuesday, prompting mass evacuations and fear for large-scale devastation as Ukraine accused Moscow's forces of committing an act of ecocide. Residents downstream from the Nova Kakhovka Dam on the Dnieper River in Kherson were told to do everything you can to save your life. Jesus, imagine the government. Imagine you're just sitting at home watching TV and all of a sudden the government, do everything you can to save your life. Jeez. Do everything you can to save your life. According to the head of Ukraine's Kherson Regional Military Administration, as video showed deluges of water gushing from a huge breach in the dam. The critical dam is the largest reservoir in Ukraine in terms of volume. It's the last of the 6 Soviet-era dams on the Dnieper River, a major waterway running through southeastern Ukraine. There are multiple towns and cities downstream, including Kherson, a city of some 300,000 people. A city of 300,000 people is about to be under 10 feet of water. Here is what we know about the crisis. What happened? There are 2 videos posted to social media and geolocated by CNN. They showed the destroyed dam wall and fast-moving torrents of water flowing out into the river. Multiple buildings at the entrance to the dam were also heavily damaged. It is unclear what caused the dam to collapse in the late evening of Monday or early hours on Tuesday. Now, that's the official reporting from CNN. It is unclear. And that is good reporting. Congratulations, CNN. That is good reporting. Because now, if you were writing this as a journalist and you were pro-Ukrainian, you wouldn't say that. You would say the Russians did it. Or if you were writing this story and you were like, you know, pro-MAGA, you would say, I'm kidding, pro-Russia, you would say, oh, the Ukrainians did it. This is actually good reporting. That's how it should be reported. It is unclear what caused the dam to collapse in the late evening, because it is unclear right now. People are pointing fingers at everybody. The satellite images, let's see, it cannot be independently verified whether the damage to the road bridge played a part in the dam's collapse or whether it was destroyed in a deliberate attack. Data shows water levels in the reservoir behind the dam were at record highs last month. Both Ukrainian and Russian officials said the dam collapsed in an explosion and are blaming each other for it. The incident happened as Ukraine was gearing up for a widely anticipated counteroffensive. Here's why nobody's taking credit for it, even though it may strategically benefit a retreating Russian military. There was no strategic that I can see. But again, I'm not an expert on this. I've just been following this war for a year like the rest of us. I don't understand. I don't understand the strategic benefit to Ukraine, because this is land that Ukraine wants back. It's like there's, it's like their states. It's like they're trying to get Nebraska back, right? So why would Ukraine want to destroy all of that land that they want back? It would make more sense that the conquering army on their way out might want to destroy it so that the Ukrainians can't do anything with it. That's the old Napoleonic scorched earth policy, where in your retreat, you make it so that there is nothing for your enemy to survive on as they follow you in retreat. Anyway, this is a very big story. It's a very big global story, and we'll see who ends up being responsible. The other side of it is that also the reason that nobody is taking credit. It's a war crime. I mean, this is a war crime. This is like one of the wars. There is no military, other than if you're just going scorched earth, which scorched earth policy is a war crime. It's right there. It's in the codes. Scorched earth is not allowed. Okay. So even if that is their excuse, it's like, okay, it's still a war crime. So that's why nobody wants to admit this, because we're talking about tens of thousands of human lives that are about to be lost as these water levels rise. There is a mass exodus occurring from the Donbas region right now. And, the Russians seem to have gotten out first, although they're still there. My favorite thing, though, is the Russian the Russians occupy this region. They conquered it, and the Ukrainians backed off their defense of this area because they deemed Kiev to be more important. So there's a Russian mayor, a Putin-installed mayor, who for the first 2 hours of this whole thing, now this might be telling, for the first 2 hours of this whole thing, when it was being reported globally that this had happened, the mayor of the town that was there was saying, nothing happened. That's a lie. There's nothing going on. There's no reason for people to evacuate. And then an hour later, that very same Russian mayor of this Ukrainian town was like, okay, maybe people need to evacuate, but it's Ukraine's fault. So his denial at first, his denial of what was obviously happening, he knew it was happening and he just denied it. Why would he deny it at first? Because I think that the Russians were the ones who did it. And I think he's a Russian puppet. And he was like, I don't know what they're talking about. And then when it became clear on a global scale that the entire world was looking at satellite images of this and they're hearing reports, people in that region still have Twitter and Facebook. So people are filming stuff. We're seeing it. Only then did this Russian-backed mayor go, oh yeah, okay, it happened. And maybe people ought to get out of the way. That Russian mayor is going to get strung up. That dude is going to get strung up in the town square, and they're going to poke him with sharp things, and it's not going to be pleasant. Also trending today, we've got this weird little political nonsense. California is threatening to go after Florida. Ooh, a big fight. First off, there's a fight between California and Florida. Sign me up for California. It's like so much bigger. Plus, they got all those weightlifter dudes on the beaches. And, Florida to me is just a bunch of, it's either flamboyant Cubans, supermodels in the South, or like trailer park bubbas in the North, and then like Orlando. That's basically Florida to me. I would take California. I would take California over Florida in a fist fight, but that's not what this is about. California's bigger. It's just bigger fists. California Governor Gavin Newsom is threatening to charge Florida Governor and 2024 GOP presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis, threatening to charge him with kidnapping over these migrant things. California Governor Gavin Newsom appeared to threaten his Florida counterpart, Ron DeSantis, with kidnapping charges Monday as a second plane load of migrants arrived via private jet in the state capital of Sacramento. Now, you understand what's happening. You understand this petty nonsense, this game of political chess that's utilizing human lives as like pawns, literally, in this whole play. Ron DeSantis is sending all the illegals that he catches. Not like Florida is a border state or anything. It's not like Florida is getting flooded but the ones that are there, DeSantis is running them up and he's putting them up on who's going to pick the oranges, stupid? What do you think some 16-year-old in Orlando is going to pick oranges? You're nuts. He's going to play Xbox and he's going to drink Mountain Dew. He ain't picking oranges, but whatever. They got rid of all of their migrant workers. They put them on planes, and DeSantis is going to send them to blue states, playing political bullshit games with people's lives. You want to talk about unscrupulous? That's unscrupulous. You want to talk about a piece of shit human being? That's a piece of shit human being. Ron DeSantis, the more I know about this son of a bitch, the more that I want him. Never mind. He's a piece of crap. He is a real piece of crap. Gavin Newsom, I'm not a fan of him either. But, at least Gavin Newsom is the one that seems to be fighting for like these innocent people who, I'm sorry, they're monsters. That's right. They're monsters. They're terrible because every so often a gangbanger from a Mexican jail kills somebody. Because we don't have any American gangbangers killing people. That's a migrant thing. That's an immigrant thing. Anyway, these are people. We just need to start looking at this as people, desperate people. And they're being moved around and they're being sent places. I'll tell you what I did love. I loved the Martha's Vineyard bit. You remember when Ron DeSantis sent a whole plane load of these people from Florida, sent them on a plane, and the plane landed in Martha's Vineyard because Ron DeSantis thought that would be funny. Isn't that funny? And guess what the people in Martha's Vineyards did? They housed them, they fed them, they brought them into their homes, and they started helping them. That's what the people of Martha's Vineyard did. Ron DeSantis, get in the fucking plane! And then the plane lands, and the people are like, welcome, you want some soup? Now I ask you, if you're a human being, what's the better way to be? What's the better way to be? The confrontation between California and DeSantis comes after DeSantis, a rising Republican star and potential presidential candidate in 2024, has pursued a policy of flying migrants to Democratic-controlled states. Last September, DeSantis arranged and paid for nearly 50 migrants to fly from Texas to Martha's Vineyard. Why the is... Okay, so I guess that's it. DeSantis is paying for people from one state that's not even his own state to fly to. This is political posturing. This is oh my God. Come on, man. I'm going to just be mean to some people because I'm hoping to win Iowa. What the fuck? You are a garbage person. That's what I was telling you about, though. Last September, they flew a bunch of people from Texas to Martha's Vineyard, a wealthy resort island in the northeastern state of Massachusetts. While Florida officials have not yet commented on two recent flights to Sacramento, California, let's see. Ron DeSantis, here's what Gavin Newsom tweeted at Ron DeSantis that started this whole thing. At Ron DeSantis, you small, pathetic man, tweeted Newsom on Monday. Oh, shut up. Now who's politically grandstanding? Just you pick up the phone and call him that to his face, you bitch. You don't mean that. You're just trying to score points. And what points are you trying to score, Gavin Newsom? Are you hoping Biden drops dead and then you'll be like, look at me, handsome guy, time to be president? I hate all of this nonsense. Anyway, that's what's going on. California and Florida are beefing with each other. Golf. How about this story, huh? How about this crazy story? Did you see the big earth-shattering news in the world of golf? I don't really care about golf. Look, all my friends golf. Actually, that's not true. My cool ones don't. But a lot of my friends do golf. And sometimes I go out with them. I don't want to golf. That seems okay. You know what I'll do? I like mini golfing. Mini golf's fun because it's over. It's like 45 minutes on to the next thing. And after you do mini golf, there's almost always an opportunity to do like batting cages or something. So, there's always but golf for like, let's just do 9. Dude, I don't have 5 hours to spare on this stupid. I'm good in a cart though. I have gone out with friends and just hung out with them and sat in the cart and drank beer and made fun of them. But golf, I'm not a golf guy. However, I am aware of the battles between golf brand name PGA and this new Saudi blood money backed Live Golf Tour, which is that's exactly what it is. It's blood money backed. It's Hey, remember all those? Remember 9/11? Remember all those bumper stickers and a lot of you proud Americans you slapped on the back of your cars and right next to your support the troops. even though for 15 years I tried to raise money for veterans, and and you'd see people that they'd turn you down, and you'd go in the parking lot and they'd have that, I support the troops. No, they don't. That's the easiest thing that you can do. You can throw a freaking bumper sticker on and drive around and bask in the glory of people thinking that you support the troops. You don't actually support the troops, but you slapped a bumper sticker on your car, so thank you. Remember the 9/11 stickers. Oh yeah, we don't remember 9/11 because the very same family that funded 9/11 and gave power to 15 of the 19 hijackers funded Al Qaeda. We know this now. We know where the money to fund Al Qaeda came. Oh, sure, some of it came from our own black ops, but a lot of it came from the Saudi Wealth Fund, which is controlled by Prince Dusha Bagaduga over there in Saudi Arabia. He founded the Live Golf Tour. Why? Because all of these human rights accusations against Saudi Arabia were beginning to take effect on the economy, the ability for Saudi Arabia to do business around the world. So what did this guy do? This guy went, all right, we need to get the attention of the world's wealthy dudes. What are the world's wealthy dudes like? Golf. So they sunk a whole bunch of money in creating a whole new golf tour so that they could sports wash, which is the term that's used when a government uses sport to sort of clean their image. We saw it with the Olympics, right? Wasn't it Qatar or whatever? We see this all the time where China tried to sports what they did the Olympics. Look at how beautiful it is. Nah, slave labor, folks. It's not beautiful. It looks good for 2 weeks during the Olympics. That's sports washing. So that's what Live Golf was. Live Golf is an attempt for the Saudi reputation to have something other than torturing that Washington Post reporter. That's why Live Golf was formed. A lot of people pushed back against it immediately. Oh, the PGA was so righteous. The PGA, oh my goodness, when Live Golf popped up, it wasn't about competition for golf dollars. That's not what it was about. Hi, I'm the PGA. It's about human rights. It's about, look, if somebody else wanted to start a competing golf tour, we'd encourage that because spreading the word of golf around the world is important to us here at the PGA. But Saudi Arabia, you can't. They're butchers. They're monsters. That was PGA's opinion of Live Golf for the better part of the last 2 years. Well, guess what? Today, they merged. That's right. Today, the PGA and Live Golf merged. Why? Yep. Had nothing to do with human rights, had nothing to do with anything. It had to do with Brooks Koepka winning one of the major PGA tournaments. That's what it had to do with. A Live Golf guy was invited to participate, and I hate the insincerity and I hate the duplicity. Look, we hear as they're standing on the greens in front of some gorgeous country club. Look, we here at the PGA, we care about people. And that's why we would never do business with something as awful and bloodthirsty as the Saudi Arabian government. Now they're partners. They're partners now. There you go. All it took was a year. All it took was a couple of lawyers getting in a room and going, how much money can we make? So fuck golf is basically what I'm saying. I never watched golf before, but now I'm not watching golf because all of the shit the PGA said was wrong about Live Golf and why they were righteous has been thrown out the window completely. Oh yeah, forget we said that because, God, golf sucks. Let's see here. Here's something. I like this. We got a bunch of people stepping up. They all want to be president. They all want to be the leaders of the free world. First up, we got Chris Christie. Chris Christie, former governor. Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey. He's going to launch his 2024 presidential bid today at St. Anselm's College. St. Anselm. Isn't this where the Trump town hall was, St. Anselm's College. Now Chris Christie is going to make his big announcement at St. Anselm's College. I've never heard of St. Elm's. Why is it so important? Because it's a stupid college in New Hampshire. and New Hampshire is a primary state. And, at the New Hampshire, it's a big deal. So Chris Christie is going to announce his run for president. GOP, he's joining the GOP race. And I like Chris Christie. I do. Chris Christie could get my vote. Chris Christie could absolutely get my vote. He could get my vote and he could get my support. Chris Christie's a tough guy. I like that about him. I like that he rolls his eyes at people. And Chris Christie he's got problems. Show me one who doesn't. Show me one who doesn't. And I'll be first in line with you to support that candidate. So obviously we've got to just kind of figure out what we can work with here. I can work with Chris Christie because I'll tell you, when push comes to shove, I think Chris Christie is a decent human being. I think that he has humanity. I think that he's big, he's loud. I think he's smart. I think Bridgegate. Oh, shut up. That was Bridgegate. Oh, that's the big scandal. That he diverted traffic. Stop it. Oh, come on. Political games. Do you know what local politics, boots on the ground politics is like in big cities? And that's essentially what we're talking about here. Bridgegate was a bridge between Manhattan and big city. A lot of people, a lot of politics, a lot of entities involved in making decisions. And Chris Christie just kind of, his office did some things, not even him directly, but his office did some things, and it blows back on him because, as Harry Truman said, the buck stops here. I like him. I do. I like Chris Christie. He's easy to make fun of because he's a big guy. But here's what I really like about Chris Christie, and this is why I think he could get my vote. Because Donald Trump's afraid of Chris Christie. Donald Trump used to kiss Chris Christie's ass up and down when Donald Trump wasn't a politician. When Donald Trump was just Donald Trump in New York City, Trump Corps. Chris Christie was the governor of New Jersey, where Trump has a whole bunch of properties and all that kind of stuff. I believe that there isn't anyone who can stand up on that debate stage and push Trump's buttons the way Chris Christie can. And I want to see it. Even though I don't believe Trump's going to debate anybody, because I think that Trump is smart enough, or at least the people who are guiding his campaign are smart enough to know that Trump has left so much out there for his opponents to dig and throw at him that there's no way Trump is quick enough to be able to handle all of that coming at him at once. And now, since Trump has changed the rules, remember, there were rules about debates where there was some decorum and you had to have some courtesy. Trump changed all that. So now Trump ain't going to debate because the rules of the debates are done. And Chris Christie knows how to push Trump's buttons. So I'm really, that would be so great. It won't happen, but that would be great. Now, I don't know enough about Chris Christie's platforms. I know that he's a conservative moderate, which I like. I like that because I'm a progressive moderate, but see, we're in the middle. Chris Christie's in the middle. My best friends are conservative moderates, people who vote GOP their whole life and all that kind of stuff, but look at Trump and go, yeah, that's not GOP. That's not conservatism. That's just a guy doing stuff that, will appeal to people who will vote for him again. That's not really a conservative agenda. And it's not. And Chris Christie, seems to be a guy who's got some real conservative cred, and he seems like a guy it's gonna be fun. I'm telling you, man, if Trump had the balls to debate Chris Christie, I think it might be fun because Chris Christie ain't afraid of Trump. He's not. He's like, he rolls his eyes at Trump like, oh God. And Chris Christie can shit talk. He can shit talk and he can get in your face just like Trump. Not like Jeb Bush. Remember Jeb Bush? I can't believe, what? Oh my God, I don't like your tone, sir. Oh, you don't like your tone? You pussy, get out of here. You're done in politics. This age of being courteous is over. It's the Trump era of politics. You call people out for their obvious flaws. There you go. Chris Christie. All right, so there's the first guy, Chris Christie. I could absolutely see myself supporting Chris Christie. But again, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what else happens. Mike Pence, ladies and gentlemen, Vice President Mike Pence announced in Iowa yesterday that he is running for president. What the fuck is this guy thinking? What? Nobody's going to vote for Mike Pence. Nobody is voting for Mike Pence except for the weirdest of like hyper Christian evangelical. Those are the weird people that'll vote for Mike Pence. MAGA hates Pence. Conservatives hate Pence. The left hates Pence. Who does this guy think he's going to get? Well, here's what he's going to get. He's going to raise a whole bunch of money off of those evangelicals that I told you about. He's going to go around the country. He's going to be speaking to churches. He's going to be talking about returning God to, all this kind of stuff. He's going to badmouth Trump about how Trump wasn't really a God guy and he tried to get the word of the Lord. And he's going to play all of that. And it's going to be nonstop cash register donations. Oh, this is from Jesus. He's going to raise all kinds of money, and then Mike Pence is going to hold on to that money, and he's going to become the CEO of a political action committee, and he's going to pay himself $1 million a year. And that's how it's done. So when I say, who does Pence think is going to vote for him? That's not the question. He knows nobody's going to vote for him. He knows he's not going to win a national election. But he does know that there's a lot of people that he can mine that Jesus thing for, and he can make some money. And that's what Pence is doing. Pence is making some money. The third person that is joining the race, this is an odd one. This is the most interesting of the three new presidential candidates. We got us a third-party candidate coming in, folks. We got a third-party candidate, progressive scholar, public intellectual Cornel West. Says he will mount a third-party presidential bid. Cornel West is a provocateur, my brother. Cornel West, let me tell you something. I can listen to Cornel West speak for hours. This guy has got the words. This blah 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 blah. My brother. He calls everybody my brother. He is like right out of a 1972 blaxploitation film. That's how legit this guy is. The vernacular that he uses, the way he carries himself. The Shaft theme should be playing whenever Cornel West walks into a room. However, Cornel West's policies and his ideology, the things I've heard him say over the years are all over the board. I mean, he's either hyper liberal or he's bordering on fascism. And yeah, there are elements to things that he believes that are certainly in that area. Cornel West has announced former Harvard professor and prominent public intellectual Cornel West will mount a third-party run for president, he said on Monday. A supporter, surrogate, and confidant of Bernie Sanders during the Vermont Senators' 2016 and 2020 bids, West is one of the leading Democratic socialist activists of his generation. In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. West said, I enter in the quest for truth. I enter in the quest for justice, and the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice that I've been trying to do all of my life. Okay. Cornel West. Let's get into this. So what does his presidential campaign look like as a third party? I don't care. Can we get a fourth party and a fifth party and a sixth party? Come on. I am all for this. Let's bring as many parties in as possible. Let's go. Let's have the next president of the United States elected with less than 10% of the vote. That's what I say. I say, let's split it up. Let's have as many possible views. See, right now, having a third party ain't good. Third party, as long as there's a fourth, fifth, and a sixth coming, that's good. But a third party is not good because a third party will always, depending on the positions and the platforms of that third party, it will always cannibalize one of the other two big two. That whatever the third party is, it will cannibalize the Republicans or it will cannibalize the liberal. I don't know anything about this. The People's Party sounds communist to me, actually. I don't know. However, I can promise you that a debate that features Cornel West is going to be interesting. He's my brother Biden, or whatever he's going to. Biden ain't. Biden, why would Biden ain't? How does a third party candidate debate? because Biden's an incumbent. He's not debating anybody. The Democratic Party has rallied completely around him. He's the Democratic candidate. We don't need to have primary debates for the Democrats because they've got their candidate. So how does a third-party candidate get on stage when there's only two kinds of debates, Republican debates and... I don't know. Anyway, there you have it. Chris Christie, Mike Pence, and Cornel West have all thrown their hats into the ring to become the president of the United States. None of them seem like super cool choices, but whatever. There you go. George Santos is trending. We haven't talked about Santos in quite a while. No, Jeff, I'm not going to get off the politics. This is not politics. These are people who are running for president. That's not politics. I didn't get into any policies or anything like that. This is current events. Get the hell out of here. And yeah, you know what? Maybe I will start talking more politics because quite honestly, playing it down the middle hasn't really grown the show. So I don't know what to tell you. Maybe I should start giving more opinions. George Santos is trending. Oh, is this politics too, or is this guy a clown show? It's so hard to tell. Anyway, the problem with George Santos is, as we know, he's got all of these indictments against him. He's a bad guy. He's a freaking idiot who lied to a bunch of people, and they went, yeah, we like those lies, and they cast their votes for this idiot. Apparently, there's a big question as to who paid George Santos's bond. I don't know what this means. George Santos's bond. Apparently, he was bailed out of jail. Somebody covered him. And it was an unsecured bond, which is absolute bullshit. This guy was 11 indictments. I think it was 11 counts that he was indicted on. And he gets out of jail with an unsecured bond. An unsecured bond is one that no money was put up. Somebody just walked up and said, hey, let him out. And then they signed something and they were like, okay, you're responsible for him. And nobody knows who that person is. And Santos isn't making it any easier because he refuses to say who it is. So obviously, there is some interest in figuring out who is behind this Santos nonsense and who bailed him out of jail. Covering a story, here we go, a little bit of a follow-up on a story that we talked about yesterday, that Cessna that crashed in Virginia. It looks starting to look more and more like it's a Payne Stewart situation where this beautiful young family, a 2-year-old baby, was on board this plane. A woman, a mama, a baby, a nanny, and a pilot, right? They all went down over Virginia. Scrambled in an F-16. Thought it was a threat. Turns out it wasn't a threat. We're starting to learn more things. Like, for instance, the pilot of the F-16 who flew alongside it said that the pilot was slumped over. Said that he knew almost immediately that the pilot was unresponsive. This wasn't a threat. This was, well, it was now a threat in that it was an airplane barreling through the sky with nobody piloting it, but it wasn't like a targeted, it wasn't like some plane loaded with bombs heading for Camp David or whatever. So there we go. The pilot of the F-16 is saying that, dude was probably dead. So when I say it's a Payne Stewart situation, we're looking at depressurization of the cabin and everybody died of... What happens when a cabin depressurizes? Do you explode, And do you implode? Do you sink in? I don't know what happens. I don't know. But they were all dead. Tragic story. Little 2-year-old baby. All right, so here's a weird story. Although, you know what? Here. I want to do the Claudia Conway story and about how she's acting all slutty, but I don't know, Jeff Ballard, is that political? Because, her last name is Conway and she's doing this to make her mom mad. Is this political? I know, I'm being a dick. I'm being a dick to Jeff, one of my favorite chatters. Was Al also? Al? I'm so disappointed in Al. Don't program direct me. Don't. Okay. Claudia Conway is trending. Claudia Conway is the now 18-year-old handful of a daughter of Kellyanne Conway. She the woman who there's now a phrase called alternative facts. It's a fancy way of saying lies, but alternative facts coined by Kellyanne Conway. I hope that's on her gravestone, because that's she made that up, and now you hear it all the time. People are like, well, alternative facts. Claudia Conway is the daughter. Of course, Kellyanne was the White House advisor to the former president. Their father, George Conway, is a George Conway is one of these hardcore conservatives. Or George Conway, George Conway hated Trump, and people were like, "Oh, he's a good guy." No, he's not. No, he's not. He's a really bad guy. Actually, you look at what he really thinks. He just doesn't like Trump's. Although it is the patent thing. The enemy of your enemy is your friend. So anyway, that's the household that Claudia Conway grew up in. And obviously, during her formative years, she's 18. So beginning when she was 13 or 14, her house was divided. Her mom was working for a president and her dad was doing his best to make that president look like an ass. So I can only imagine what this kid went through at 14, 15, 16. Now, a year ago when she was 17, she started doing all these crazy TikTok videos and stuff where she was slamming Trump, right? She's a little kid. She's like this 17-year-old girl, but she got millions and millions of hits because she wasn't just some 17-year-old girl. She was a 17-year-old girl who was the daughter of Kellyanne Conway. So, ooh, isn't this very Kardashian-like? Aren't we riveted by what's happening with this family we know nothing about? Well, she turned 18, and now she is going for it. She is out there. Claudia Conway, as we reported a couple of weeks ago, has signed on with Playboy. She is now a viral or a virtual Playboy bunny, which means that I guess Playboy is starting this kind of OnlyFans thing, which I don't really understand OnlyFans. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Right? Is it sex? Are they doing sex or is it just naked girls? Are you? I don't know. Anyway, you pay money to watch people do sexy stuff. It's weird. It's very strange. Claudia Conway here. Let me show you these pictures of Claudia Conway. These are, I guess, from her Playboy shoot. I don't know. The New York Post says it is. And if the New York Post says it. So here are, oh, wait a second now. Hold on. Hold on, guys. We have to wait about 30 seconds for the New York Post to stop trying to sell me things with pop-ups. First of all, she's 18 years old. This is an 18-year-old girl. So, it's like I feel for her. All right, here we go. There she is. Hold on, that didn't work. There she is. All right, so here are some Claudia Conway glamour shots. Posing. It's a can. Okay, is that her? She's like in a bustier. So I guess if you're like a pervy weirdo, you can like pay to see Kellyanne Conway's 18-year-old daughter in her underwear. That's a thing you can do now. Here she is too, Claudia Conway. She's a pretty girl. I don't remember if Kellyanne Conway was ever pretty. She's not now. She's got like a skeleton kind of head. I remember Kellyanne Conway in the 90s when she was a pundit on Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher. That's like where she got her start. That's where she first popped up. Kellyanne Conway would always show up on. And I don't remember if she was cute or not. I don't remember. But her daughter's cute. Her daughter's pretty, right? This is Claudia Conway. Here you go. She's doing some slutty things. Oh, there the two of them are together in happier times. Mom and daughter. Okay, more sexy Playboy pictures of Claudia Conway. All right, so we got it. So that's look at that. There's another picture of mom and daughter. This New York Post article is interesting in that it's well here's the headline. Playboy's Claudia Conway is just the latest gal to think getting naked is a feminist act. Ooh, isn't that interesting? That's interesting to me. Okay. Getting naked is a feminist, because, we hear that defense all the time. I'm not a whore. I'm sexually empowered. And I happen to agree with that because I don't think there's anything wrong with being a whore. See, when you hear the word whore and you go, don't call her a whore. What you're doing is you're just accepting the popular idea of what a whore is. What is a whore? A whore is a woman who has a lot of sex. Is that a bad thing? Well, the way you use whore, it sounds like it is. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think a woman who wants to have sex, again, folks, I'll tell you again, we only go around this a number of times. You find something you like that doesn't hurt other people, hey, man, you go for it. That's fine. I don't give a care. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But you always hear this about, porn stars when they're, you're being exploited. And they're like, no, I'm not. I'm actually driving a Ferrari. It's like, how are you being exploited? You what do you mean I'm a porn star? I'm actually making six figures a year. I've got a nice life. I'm being exploited though. You would rather have me be a 35-year-old working at Applebee's. That's that you'd rather I stayed in my little Indiana dirt town. And so I never understood that. I mean, I think that what a woman does with her body, if she chooses to be a stripper, if she chooses to be a porn star, if she chooses to have sex with multiple men, she doesn't want to settle down. I don't judge that. That's just you, man. Sex is not a bad thing. And we all know that I've established that I'm pretty much asexual. I mean, I'm not really I'm not really a sexy, creepy guy like that. I'm not, never have been. I don't know. Schwartz says I need testosterone. Now, by that same token, I do appreciate the female form. Like, I'll tell you when a girl walks by, I'm like, man, is she good looking? But my next thought isn't, God, I want to bang her. Like, I don't go there. I don't know. It's just me, and I know I'm weird. Maybe I'm broken in some way. But I don't mind people who are sexually liberated. And this whole idea that she's being criticized now because she's saying that basically Claudia Conway is saying that this is me empowering myself and blah blah blah, and she is, you see, because Claudia Conway at 18 years old, by taking off her clothes or posing provocatively for Playboy, she is now making money so that she can get out from under the thumb of her mother and her father. So that is empowering. How do you see it any other way? Why? Because you've got some moral objection to the fact that she's being sexually provocative? Get over yourself. That's not a you thing. You're not paying her bills. You know, let her do what she needs to do. She's a woman now, although I don't really think 18 is a woman, but technically by the letter of the law, she's a woman now. So, hey, New York Post, get off Claudia Conway's butt. I mean, I think she's a sad little girl. That's what I think. I think she's a sad little girl. I think she's broken. I think she's seen some things in her household. Her parents are now divorcing. I think that she went through some stuff. I think that, just being the daughter of Kellyanne Conway could not have been easy for her in public. You know what I mean? 2018, she's at the mall with her friends, and somebody points out that that's Kellyanne Conway's, and now suddenly you got some weird lefty freak shows chasing her around. I mean, it's not easy for a kid when a parent decides to grandstand in the way that both of her parents did. So more power to her. I hope that she grows into a decent woman and doesn't end up dead in a trunk somewhere, because quite frankly, broken girls can go either way. Kellyanne Conway's daughter. There you go. Claudia Conway. How about this ugliness? Here's some ugliness out of Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore. I don't think of Drew Barrymore as being ugly. I don't mean physically ugly. I mean ugly on the inside. I don't mean physically ugly. Drew Barrymore. A lot of people think Drew Barrymore is a beautiful woman. I never did. I think she had a very unique look about her. I think she had a look that suggested some kind of chromosome issue going on with her. But whatever. I know a lot of people who thought Drew Barrymore was great. But here's what I do know about Drew Barrymore. She's a lovely little pixie of a lady. You think, oh, love and sweetness and all that. So that's what you come to expect from Drew Barrymore. You don't come to expect Drew Barrymore to openly in print during an interview tell the interviewer that she wishes her mother was dead. Because that's what's going on with Drew Barrymore, although she is walking it back now. Drew Barrymore admits she cannot wait for her mom, Jade Barrymore, to die. The TV host got candid about her tumultuous childhood, with her mother revealing she's jealous of friends who have already lost their parents. All their moms are gone, and my mom's not. And I'm like, well, I don't have that luxury, but I cannot wait, Drew told New York Magazine. I don't want to live in a state where I wish someone to be gone sooner than they're meant to be so I can grow. I don't want to be in a state where I wish someone to be gone sooner than they're meant to be just so that I can grow. I actually want her, my mom, to be happy and thrive and be healthy. But I have to effing grow in spite of her still being on this planet. Woo! That's some hardcore stuff, man. Woo! That is, man, I can't get behind that. That is some rough stuff. However, probably the reason that I can't get behind that is because I had the most loving, the most supportive, the most incredibly diehard ride or die mom in the history of moms. So I couldn't imagine having that kind of a feeling. Drew Barrymore had a different mom. Jade Barrymore was a piece of garbage. Jade Barrymore, if their last name wasn't Barrymore and they weren't super connected and super famous and super rich, if the Barrymore family hadn't been associated with this little girl, Drew Barrymore would have been taken out of the custody of Jade and put into Child Protective Services like that. Jade Barrymore took her little 3 or 4-year-old daughter, Drew, little baby Drew, and decided, I'm going to make her a star. And oh yeah, I'm just going to be her manager. So Jade Barrymore Jade Barrymore was a party girl. All of that stuff. Jade Barrymore had problems. It was the 70s and 80s. And while Jade Barrymore was having all these problems and going to Hollywood parties and going into the bathroom with, I don't know, Richard Pryor, to hoover off something, I guess who was sitting on the couch hanging out with creepy adults? Drew Barrymore. Jade Barrymore took Drew Barrymore to Studio 54 multiple times. Here, wait a second. You can see this. Look at this picture. These are the reasons. Drew Barrymore was in rehab at 12 and then relapsed at 13. That's who Jade Barrymore is. That's who Drew Barrymore's mom is. She had absolutely no, she had absolutely no parental guidance as a child. So, when I say I can't really relate to Drew Barrymore saying these things about her mom because, my mom is total ride or die, we all have different experiences with our mothers. And it's why those of us with good ones, look at this. Here we go. This is Drew Barrymore out at a party in New York City as a little girl with her mom who's looking to party, You couldn't get a babysitter. And why did Drew go? Sure, she could have gotten a baby, but why did Drew go? Because her mom wanted her exposed to all of this stuff because she might meet a producer or a director at 5 years old. Drew Barrymore's childhood was kind of ruined. She was a drug. You know that when she was on ET, she was drug addict. She was already doing drugs and stuff as that little girl Gertie in ET. Already. And that's why she wishes her mom was dead. However, in Drew Barrymore's defense, she has walked that back. She has said, look, you caught me in one of these moments. I had just gotten off the phone with somebody who had told me something about my mom, and I was particularly angry when I sat down for that interview. She says she doesn't mean it anymore, which is good. Excuse me. How about this one? All right. We got the writer's strike. The Hollywood writer's strike is going on, which means 6 more weeks of bad reality TV because ain't nobody writing anything scripted. The writer's strike has brought production to a halt in Hollywood. We haven't felt the effects of it yet, but we will in a couple of months when you're like, hey, where's the new season of? And it doesn't happen. Like there is no new season. Now, we're getting used to this. We're getting used to these interruptions because many of our favorite shows were interrupted for the better part of a year because of the pandemic. All of those shows went out of production. So we had to wait an extra long time to get season 2 of our favorite show because they just weren't in production. Same thing's going to happen here. Same thing's going to happen with the writers. But now it is going to be compounded. Now we've got an even bigger issue because SAG-AFTRA members, those are the stage and screen actors, stage and screen actors members approve a strike authorization with 97.9% of the vote in support of the writers. So now the actors are going out. Let's see here. Here is the statement. In a powerful show of solidarity, SAG-AFTRA members have voted 97.91% in favor of a strike authorizing ahead of negotiations of the TV theatrical contracts with nearly 65,000 members, blah, blah, blah. The strike authorization does not mean the union is calling a strike. SAG-AFTRA begins negotiations on June 7th with the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers. The affirmative vote on the authorization empowers the union's national board to initiate a strike if the AMPTP won't reach a fair deal with the union. These are the same issues that the screenwriters are dealing with. The way you are paid for your creations in Hollywood are no longer in line with what the modern world is. These contracts for writers and all that, they have everything to do with reruns on TV. It's all of these rules, they were all written when there were like, just a couple of channels, and they don't include streaming, they don't include downloads, they don't include all of that stuff that the movie companies and all that are making money off of and not sharing anything at all. So there is a very real and legitimate reason to sit down and rehash out these negotiations. But the television producers and movie producers are going, no, we're going to still pretend it's 1995. And the writers are saying, yeah, we can't do that. We can't still pretend it's 1995. So we're not going to write anything anymore. And now the screen actors are getting ready to go into these negotiations with the very same people. They're going to meet the very same resistance. And so last night, the Screen Actors Guild authorized a strike. That doesn't mean, it doesn't mean they're going on strike. It just means that when the representatives for SAG-AFTRA sit down with these television and movie producers, when they sit down with them and they don't like what they hear, they can then just say, we're on strike. They have authorized them to have the authority to do that. So developing Here's an interesting one. Rammstein. You guys like Rammstein? Rammstein is a German cannibal metal band. I don't know how to describe Rammstein. Here's what I'll tell you. The band is named after an air disaster where like 100 people were killed on the ground after two planes at an air show, the Rammstein Air Show, like back in the 80s sometime. Two planes collided in Germany at the Rammstein Air Show. Two planes collided and all the debris killed like 100 people on the ground. So this band named themselves Rammstein. So that ought to give you a little bit of idea of where their head's at. They also sing about, torture and cannibalism and stuff like that. So they're one of those bands, but they're big. Of those bands, Rammstein is probably the biggest of the band, those kinds of bands. Germany's family minister has called for better protection for fans at concerts following a wave of sexual assault claims against the frontman of veteran rock band Rammstein. Tim Linderman, 60-year-old Tim Linderman, lead singer of Rammstein, is being charged with various counts of sexual assault. Several women have recently accused Tim Linderman, 60, of grooming and sexually assaulting them at after-show parties, according to German media reports. Okay. I have a problem with that sentence. Journalistically, I have a problem with that sentence. Here's my problem. I'm going to read it to you again. You see if you can tell me what my problem is. Several women have recently accused Linderman of grooming. We'll just stop right there. Okay? You don't groom women. You are trying to put out there something more lascivious than what it is. These were all grown-ass women. These were not children. Grooming is a term that is popularly used to describe a situation where a mature adult does something to an innocent child, okay? These are women. You even use the word women. Several women have said he groomed me. Really? Really? You're 30 years old. What are you talking about? He groomed you. Stop it. The Olympic Park in Munich, where Rammstein are due to play 4 gigs this week, said on Tuesday all after-show parties for the concerts had been canceled. Now, when Rammstein has this like special section in the front of their stage for like VIP Rammstein fans. And typically they party with these people afterwards. So you buy your ticket, you get into this VIP area for all Rammstein shows, and then you get to go into a VIP area. Now, these assaults apparently took place at the after party with these fans from this VIP area. So now you got me. So there's a party, the sexual assaults happened at the party, and the German government's way of fixing this is saying, you can't have party no more. Parties. They're ending the parties. Not the sexual assault, the parties. They're not dealing with the perpetrator. They're not dealing with the one guy who's accused of perpetrating sexual assault. They're just saying, there will be no more parties. Okay, that's all right. That doesn't really make sense, but okay. Way to get on it, German officials. Anyway, apparently Rammstein is on tour in Germany. It's a big tour. It's some kind of like anniversary tour, and now it's in trouble because apparently he's grooming women. He's always a bad guy. He's grooming. You want us to think the absolute worst, but you can't, because technically these aren't kids. You can't say grooming children, grooming girls, even girls. Girls were groomed. No, that didn't work right? Because the women are all in their. Rammstein's like an old people band. Okay, who is he grooming? I don't get it. I don't know. Are there any like? Anyway, that's an interesting thing. Rammstein. How about this one? This is something that is. Is this a New Yorker article that was trending this morning? I don't know which one of these were from the New Yorker. Again, I don't read the New Yorker. I just get the links and I click. Subtitles, or if you will, closed captioning. Do you use them? Do you use subtitles? Do you use closed captioning? Do you, when you watch something on the Netflix or when you watch something on, do you use the words at the bottom of the screen to tell you what all the dialogue is? I do 100% of the time. 100% of the time I use subtitles on everything. Why? Because I love dialogue. Because I absolutely love dialogue. And sometimes actors are affecting some kind of an accent or some kind of a style of speech where you don't really get all of the good, meaty dialogue. So when I hear something and I want to hear it again, I like to be able to glance down at the screen. You can see the word right there, like, oh, that's a great line. I love it. I discovered the magic of subtitles and closed captioning when I got into Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders is an English show. And if you're not using subtitles on these great BBC produced shows or English shows, you're missing out. You're missing half of the dialogue. Peaky Blinders got me accustomed to looking at the words because the dialogue is so great. But unfortunately, so you look at on the bottom, you're like, oh man, that's a good line. And you don't miss anything. You know why? Because if you're a normal person, it's really not that much of a distraction. You think it is. I used to say that I didn't want to watch foreign films because I don't want to read movies. Well, that has completely changed. Now I do. And guess what? I'm not alone. More people. Are you ready for this? 2/3 of Netflix viewers use subtitles. And not because they're watching something in a different language. 2/3. Subtitles are everywhere, and in fact, they may already be our default mode. According to Preston Smalley, here's Roku. Roku's vice president of viewer product, a 2022 internal survey revealed that 58% of subscribers to Roku use subtitles. 36% of them switch the subtitles on because of a diagnosed hearing impairment. 32% do it out of force of habit. And the remaining cite a slew of situational issues, such as kids sleeping nearby, other people in the room, and poor audio quality. Many of the people using subtitles, in other words, do not necessarily need them. And as it turns out, it is a millennial thing, or at least millennials are leading the way. A full 2/3 of Roku's millennial customers use subtitles, more than any other generation, including seniors, though Smalley attributes that in part to technical hurdles, which is a polite way of saying that older users don't always know how to turn on the subtitles. I love subtitles. In the fear that it's going to interfere with the acting and all. It's just not true. It just doesn't happen. Our brains can process way faster than we give them credit for. You're not going to miss anything if you're watching a show. Succession is dialogue driven. Subtitles, always got to have the subtitles on Succession, because if there's like a good line, I'll pause it and I want to read it. I want to really like get into that. I feel justified because I always thought that it was my son watched it. My son is 14. He uses subtitles on everything. So it really, I think, is a generational thing. And also for people who are afraid, it's so easy to use. It's just that one little button. Most remotes even have the little button. You just hit the button on the remote and all of a sudden you can read. And it's really not. Oh, you know where else I first got accustomed to it? Narcos. You guys watch Narcos on Netflix? Narcos, half of Narcos was in Spanish. Like half of Narcos is in English, and then the half that deals with the Mexican cartels or the Colombians or whatever are in Spanish. And that's when I got used to subtitles. I didn't have to put them on because they provided them for us, but I got used to reading. Also, the film Parasite. Remember the film Parasite won the Oscar for Best Picture 2 or 3 years ago? It was the Korean film, the South Korean film about the people who basically became parasites to this other family. That was not in English. And because it won the Oscar, I was forced to like watch it, even though I don't read movies, had been pretty much my stance. Parasite. Parasite was the first movie that I watched from beginning to end. And about 10 minutes in, I forgot that I was reading. Now, I don't know if I'm a better reader than other people. Is that a thing? Like, can you be? I guess you can be a better reader. But I have absolutely no problem reading subtitles and enjoying foreign films now because I'm so conditioned to it. Now, I prefer to use subtitles when it's already being spoken in English because, then you can tune it out and whatever. You can use it as a reference. I don't like to use it as the primary source for me to understand the dialogue, but as an additional reference, subtitles. And millennials are doing it, and they're saying that Gen Z has followed suit, and it's us older generations, the boomers, who aren't using them at all. and Gen X, who's not really using them at all. All right, that's about it, folks. That's all I got prepared for us on this lovely, I don't even know, is it a lovely day? You know what, that's what I miss about, we changed studios. We changed the studios. We are now located in the Comfort Nest Studio South here on the One Percenter compound, but I don't ever know what it's like outside. Let's see, what's the temperature? Oh, give me a temperature. Oh, Jesus. It's already 92 degrees. Ugh. I don't know. Is it sunny? I cannot tell if it's sunny or if it's. What do you say we jump in and see if there's anything that we missed? Has anything happened in the past couple of hours that I've missed? Well, let's see here. Stop it. Oh God, the dog is making noise again. Oh, you want to hear a cute little dog story? Oh, you want to hear an adoring dog story? You want to hear a cute dog story? I could have killed this animal last night. I was so angry. So the dog doesn't like the mailman. When the mailman comes, the dog goes absolutely insane. Here, I can maybe even give you an example of it here. Let me see if I can show you this. When the mailman comes to the door, the dog just wants to kill the mailman. Do I still have it? You know what? I don't think I have it anymore. All right. Or do I? Hold up. Yeah, here we go. Okay. No. Huh. All right. So here, this is basically what it looks like when the mailman comes. All right, hold on. She is just, I think I've shown this before. Yeah. Like that. She goes nuts. See, look at the door. Look at how she's damaged the door from jumping into it. She goes nuts. Look at her. That's like 65 pounds of just pure beef. Pure, solid, yoked beef. Is she going to jump? Do the jump again. The jump is good. Although it's not a great jump. It's not her best jump. Yeah. Whatever. Never mind. Screwed it up. Anyway, the mailman came by yesterday, and I had been desperately waiting for a new debit card. My debit card got scratched, and somehow it doesn't work when I swipe it anymore, so I have to do it. I have to either tap it, and sometimes the tapping doesn't work, so I just needed a new debit card. So I've been waiting for a new debit card, and thank you to the bank. They got it to me in relatively quick time. It was only like 3 days because I ordered it on Friday, and it showed up on Monday. That is amazing. Thank you so much to my bank. Appreciate you. Send me a new debit card. The minute the debit card came through the mail slot, the dog ate the debit card. You did that. You. So I had to like call him again, and I don't know how I'm gonna. Now what? I gotta, for like the hour that the mailman is typically set to arrive, I gotta keep the dog away from the door. I gotta keep her locked up because when that new card gets put through, I can't let her chew it. I mean, she didn't destroy it, but she literally put her teeth through the new card, right through the little, like it came, it comes in an envelope and it comes through. The mailman pushed it through the envelope and she went, "Arr," and she ate it and then she threw it down. And I was 10 seconds away. I mean, I saw the mailman coming and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get the mail. I was 10 seconds away, man. And he just fed the mailman unknowingly. The mailman fed my dog, my new dog, right through the mail slot. He put it through the mail slot right into her mouth. So that sucked. Anyway. Why is Jussie Smollett trending? What did he do? What did he do? What is Jussie Smollett doing now? Oh. Is this the Elliot Page story? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I don't know. So Elliot Page, Elliot Page is Ellen. I can't think of it. Let's just call her Ellen Burstyn. Ellen Burstyn turned into Elliot Page. The girl from Juno. Was it Ellen Page? Was it Ellen Page? I think that might have been. Yeah, I think it was Ellen Page. Duh. Okay. So Ellen Page transitioned into Elliot Page. Good for you. Be happy. Live your life. God bless. But she's telling he is telling a story now about some transphobic attack, and now everybody's calling it the new Jussie Smollett because he couldn't possibly have been authentically attacked. I don't know. Whatever. That's ugly. That's some ugly stuff. Honestly, why? I don't want anybody attacked, obviously, but I don't care about. Just move on. Why would you take a moment out of your day to go, oh, this probably ain't true? Why do you care? Why are you so invested? Just move on. Move on. And I don't know any details of the supposed Elliot Page attack. I probably could. I could probably look that up right now. But I don't know any details. All I know is just stupid. Stop it. Just stop it. Now, should I find out the details and I think it smells fishy, I'll say that. The Jussie Smollett thing, I knew it was fishy from the very, very beginning. From the very beginning of that, when everybody's like, I'm like, it was 100 below zero that night. Right? Like, because the Jussie Smollett, I was in Chicago at the time. The Jussie Smollett story broke in Chicago way before it broke nationally. It was a big story locally the next day because Chicago takes very seriously its film industry. Chicago has a massive film industry. I mean, half the shows on NBC are called Chicago something, but they film all kinds of television shows all over Chicago all the time. And it is a huge part of revenue for the city. And it's also a huge part of tourism for the city. People love to come and see, where this happened and where that happened. And they take these tours and all that stuff. So when something bad happens to somebody from California who's in Chicago doing a movie or doing some form of whatever, they take it very seriously. And so it was a big news story. And I remember hearing this news story in the very first thing that I thought, because remember he said he went to a Subway. He said how did he get mugged last night? Well, he walked to a Subway at 2 a.m. And I remember my first thought was, he didn't walk to a Subway at 2 a.m. Why is he saying like that's something normal? He walked to the Subway at 2 a.m. Not because it's dangerous, because he's in a very nice part of the city. He's in a pretty safe part of the city where he was. But what it was 100 below zero. That's why he wasn't walking 2 blocks to the Subway. It was 100. It was like 100 below zero wind chill factor. It was the coldest day of the year, the coldest night of the year. From the very beginning of that Jussie Smollett story, I was like, this is not real. This is not true. There's something fishy here. And then you see all the, this cannot stand. What happened to Jussie? And everyone in Chicago is like, I'm not sure this happened. This doesn't seem like something that would have happened last night. It'd be like saying he stole my car in the middle of a hurricane. Nobody's stealing a car while a hurricane is barreling down. It's just stupid. Why is Nick Wright trending? Nick Wright. You know this guy? You know Nick Wright? Nick Wright is a sports pundit. He's a young new sports pundit. He's getting a lot of heat. He is trying to be the most outrageous and outspoken. Why? Because that's how you get paid in media these days. It's not about effective journalism or having interesting takes. It's about how many retweets can you get on some kind of shit talk that you tweeted. Why is Nick Wright trending? Is Nick Wright fighting with Skip Bayless? Oh, it's because Shannon Sharp. That's what it is. It's because Shannon Sharp has left whatever that show is that he did with Skip Bayless. You know, that's FS1. And now they're talking about, I guess, replacing Shannon Sharp with Nick Wright, which I got to be honest, I'm not against. Not against that. I don't particularly like Nick Wright, but I also don't like Skip Bayless. I hate Skip Bayless. I hate Skip Bayless and I hate his brother Rick Bayless. I hate them both. They are both complete jerks. I've been around both of them. Rick Bayless is Skip Bayless's brother. Rick Bayless is one of America's most successful restaurateurs. He owns big restaurants. Didn't he have like a show? I think Rick Bayless even had a TV show where he went to like, whatever. He's a dick. Rick Bayless is a dick. Comes off as a nice guy on film and everything, and I'm the opposite of my brother Skip, but he's not. In real life, he's actually kind of a jerk. Nick Wright and Skip Bayless deserve each other. All right. I would tune into that. I don't like either one of these people, but I think that would be some fireworks, and I would like to see somebody really be able to carve up Skip Bayless, and I think that Nick Wright might be able to do that. What else do we got here? TERFs. The hell, TERF? What are TERFs are those people that shut up with your new names. The cisgender. Oh, shut up! You will never hear me say any of this. There was a new language in this world, and it's all so bullshit. TERFs and cis, and just stop it. Ugh. Let's create a new language so that we can divide one another more. Yeah, let's do that. That'll be fun. What is Prince Harry doing? Prince Harry, didn't he testify in London on something? He was like the first royal to openly testify in court, like ever. Yeah, it's this lawsuit that he's got going on against the Daily Mail over there. I don't see anything. Hold on. I'm trying to be able to sum up the story. He's testifying in court in London, and it's a big deal and apparently Piers Morgan's involved. Like they hate each other. Like I think that's what it is. I think Piers Morgan wrote something about Prince Harry. Prince Harry suing the newspaper, and now the court case is going on, and blah 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 blah. Who cares? Stop it. You're Prince Harry. Do you know what kind of offense you would have to perpetrate against me if I were Prince Harry to get me to go through the trouble of suing you? Because I would just be like, whatever. I'm just going to make a choice to forget about that unnecessary aggression and look in the mirror and remind myself that I'm Prince Harry. There's no, you're letting Piers Morgan get under your skin. You're friggin' Prince Harry. Stupid. What else do we have? Let's see. Let's check out the Google Trends. Look at me. The show was legitimately done at 2:00, and I am so dedicated. I am so dedicated to doing all of this. Actually, this is very self-indulgent, but I enjoy it so much that we're just rolling. Look at us rolling. Google Trends. Let's see what we got here now. Trending now. Oh, is that a storm? Are we getting a storm? Is that thunder? Oh no, I don't want it to storm. I got to do stuff. Let's see here. Robert Hansen. We talked about him. He was the spy. He died yesterday. Kiefer Sutherland. Why is Kiefer Sutherland trending? Actor's appearance in St. John's, Nova Scotia. Okay. Obviously there's nothing. There is nothing left to be said. All right, chat room. Dante says, yeah, right. Okay. I know cis is an acronym. I appreciate that, Dante. Thank you. But again, cisgender, that's a new word. That is it's an acronym for a new word, or it's a shortened version of a new word. Nobody said cisgender until 5 years ago. Why? Because we didn't see a need to divide ourselves in that way. We didn't see a need to put people in boxes. I hate it. I hate all this. I hate woke. Woke. I'm woke. I'm anti woke. Oh, are you? Are you? You're anti something stupid. I hate all of these new phrases. Am I an old man just shouting at clouds? Probably. Yeah, maybe to some degree. Oh, hey, you know what I wanted to talk to you guys about? I watch things on TV, and as you guys probably do as well. I watch things on TV, and I like to from time to time give you things that I think are really good, like things that you might enjoy. Hold on, let me plug this in. I accidentally stumbled across something last night after the Pugs and Parker with Key and E show. That comes on every night at 9 o'clock. That's right. We come back, we do a second stream. It's myself, James Parker, and the E. Sometimes Keys. Keys got some stuff going on, so we're holding his place for him. So if you're wondering, it's like, why do you always call it that, but he never shows up? He will soon. There are things going on, so just give him a break. And anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So after that show, we do that show, the 9 p.m. Pillow Talk show, Pugs Parker with Key and E, every night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's a bit more of a roundtable conversation. The shows have been really good. Last night's show, I really enjoyed last night's show. I like doing this. This is an exercise in narcissism for me because it's just me proving to myself that I can do a stream of consciousness, sort of extemporaneous rant on all the day's news for 2+ hours a day. This is just very self-indulgent, and I understand it. And that's why you people hanging out with me for this mess means so much to me. It really does. Now, the nighttime show is more, you might want to tune into that because it's fun, because that one's a little bit more silly, a little bit more interesting. But after last night's Pillow Talk show, excuse me, after last night's Pillow Talk show, I walked the dog. I did the dog walking thing, and then I went and found something on HBO. Hold on, I gotta find this. Maybe let's watch the trailer for it. And I'm telling you, I was up. I usually fall asleep around 11:30. That's my new bedtime because the dog wakes me up early. The dog wakes me up early and is like, I want to go out, and you gotta take care of the dog. Part of my duties here, being able to not broadcast, stream, but also work out of the studio here at the beautiful 1%er compound, is that the dog must be tended to and the dog must be kept happy. So part of my job is I got to wake up. Don't lick your cooch. Oh my God, that's so gross. Well, if I could reach, who knows? So last night I stayed up like really late. Why? Because I stumbled across, let me show you this, on Max. Max, which used to be HBO Max, which now is, hold on. There you go. There you go. Okay, so let me show you this. Let me show you this show that I watched. Just stumbled across it last night. Had never heard of it. It's not a show. It's one of those docu-series. It's 3 episodes. Each episode is like 44 minutes. And I just popped it on because this all occurred in James Parker's bug tussle, Tyler, Texas. Which, if you listen to the 9 p.m. stream, the Pillow Talk stream, you know that we delve into the inner workings and the sloppiness of a bug tussle, James Parker's hometown of Tyler, Texas, with regularity. We're always amazed at the sort of hillbilly nonsense that this man, this articulate, this educated, I'm not going to say sophisticated, but where he came from, how James Parker was able to emerge from this bouillabaisse of just cultural inbreeding. I have no idea. Anyway, so there's this Max documentary miniseries, 3 episodes about James's hometown or James's home area. Technically, this took place in Mineola, Texas, which is like the next town over. But the courts and all that stuff, it was all in Tyler. All of this stuff went down in bug tussle, and HBO has or Max or whatever has a new docu-series. It's called How to Create a Sex Scandal. And I don't know if you guys have seen this. I haven't seen it. It just popped up on my thing, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. That's James's hometown. Let's learn more about James's hometown. So here it is. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. It is fascinating. I could not go to sleep last night. You know, the book that you can't put down. I kept looking, how many episodes is this? And I'm like, okay, I can do one more episode. I could stay up for one more episode. Here it is. If you're looking for something interesting to watch tonight, check this out.
There's been another arrest in the Mineola sex ring case.
As of today, a total of 6 men and women have now been arrested with an
Smith County police say they are accused of forcing 4 children under the age of 7 to perform at a swingers club.
They basically took my childhood from me.
Sally Pals.
Words cannot describe what these children have gone through.
My little boy thinks they got the money.
If we're gonna make a pinky promise, just tell the truth.
The truth of the matter is, it didn't happen. It never happened. They brainwashed us.
Everything they'd said was a lie. Sex kindergarten, swingers club, and they ruined a bunch of childhoods.
There is no case here. This is smoke and mirrors.
They're in it for the money.
It's all your fault. She's straight evil.
How dare them?
I remember thinking, where is this going to go?
I was told, don't make any waves. I made waves. Somewhere lies the truth.
All right, that's the trailer for How to Create a Sex Scandal, a 3-part docu-series about this wild, crazy situation that occurred in Mineola, Texas, Tyler, Texas, right there out in Bug Tussle. In fact, I want to ask James if he's seen this yet, and then do you know any of these people? Do you know, because they just, James often regales us with stories of how dirtbaggy the people he went to high school with. Here was what I would say about this show, this docuseries, How to Create a Sex Scandal. Buckle up, Buttercup, because it is a roller coaster ride. You are going from episode to episode. You are going to radically change who you think is responsible for this thing. It is done really well until the third episode. About halfway through the third episode, it starts to take shape, and you start to go, "Oh, I see what this is all about." Oh man, it's fascinating. I won't spoil any more for you, but it's really good. I enjoyed it last night, and I stayed up way too late last night watching this darn thing. I hate it when I fall into stuff. I hate it, especially when you're about to go to sleep and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm trying to stay awake to watch this. It was good. How to Create a Sex Scandal. Now, the title should tell How to Create a Sex Scandal. Basically, here's the thing. A swingers club opened up in this like little tiny town in Texas. A swingers club, just like weird, creepy swinger people. And swinger people are weird and creepy. Don't get me wrong. That's a very bizarre scene. I don't have any hatred for it. I don't have any judgment for it, but it ain't for me. And that's all I have to say about that, because I've been as a bit to a swingers club here in Dallas when we were on the radio, and I just remember thinking it seemed very seedy. It just wasn't my scene. It just wasn't. I didn't feel. I did not want to. No. Anyway, but if it is your thing, that's fine, man. You know what isn't my thing? Death metal. Do you know what my best friend's favorite kind of music is? Death metal. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. It's not my thing. But basically what happened was this small town in Texas, Mineola, they got themselves a sex club out there in the woods. And there were people out there having sex. Let me tell you, the good God-fearing folks in Mineola, Texas didn't like them people doing that stuff out there. So basically it was uncovered that what was going on at this sex club was way worse than just because the Baptist churches in the area wanted the swingers club gone, but swingers clubs aren't illegal. You can have a swingers club. Those are totally legal. So there was nothing they could do to get rid of the swingers club. Until they found out that the swingers club had little kids dancing as strippers and performing sex shows. And then all of a sudden it became a child. People went to jail for years. People were convicted in these sham trials that were they're just creepy swingers. And anyway, it's a roller coaster ride. It is a roller coaster ride of twists and turns. And just when you think this woman is a saint, it turns out this woman is the devil. And this guy here, he is a disgusting child molester pervert. He goes to, oh my God, this poor man. They destroyed this poor man. It is fascinating. It shows you how the justice system really is kind of basically what they did was they targeted a bunch of dumb trailer park living hillbillies that nobody cared about. They couldn't afford to bail themselves out of jail, and they wanted a reason to get rid of this club. And this isn't a spoiler. I promise you, Adam. I promise this isn't a spoiler. This is all the stuff that you saw in the trailer, but it's so interesting. How to Create a Sex Scandal on Max. I would say HBO Max, but we're calling it Max now, right? Aren't we supposed to change the name? All right, that's going to do it, folks. I love you all so much. Appreciate you hanging out with me today, making me feel like I have some sort of worth in this world. I'll be back tonight at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock with Parker. And, I got a bunch of stuff from last night. Here's how I know the Pillow Talk show at 9 o'clock, Pugs and Parker. Here's how I know that's starting to take on a life of its own. And it takes a while. It takes a while. We've been doing it now for the better part of a year. So I feel like the chemistry is getting there. Chemistry isn't there perfect, but it's there. It's good. But here's how I know that it's working. Because every single night I come with an entire show prepared. I come with like, okay, we can talk about this. We can do this. We can do this. And for the last week, I have not hardly gotten into any of the stuff that I've prepared, because the organic chemistry and the organic conversations that were popping up seemed better. You can find all those shows at pugscast.com. Pugscast is your home for all previous episodes of this year's show. This is the High Noon Report, as well as Pugs and Parker. That's pugscast.com. RadioMisfits.com is the reason that we do all of this stuff. They're our platform, they're our boss, they're our spiritual advisor, and Ed is the reason that all of this is done. So if you have anybody that you want to say thank you to, that would be the man, Ed Namel. And me too, to a degree, because I actually, executed, but I would not be in a position to do this without Ed and Emil, executive producers of this here project. That's what they are, technically. Tip the show if you can, folks. Really appreciate it. We didn't make it last month. Thank you to the people who helped out yesterday. I appreciate you. Still more of you can step up. If you can, drop a little something in the Venmo or the Cash App, and we'll go from there. What else? I got nothing else for you. You guys are the best. We'll see you tonight at 9 o'clock, okay? I'm going to go. Is it raining yet? No, but it is dark. All right, bye, everybody. Have a good one. Appreciate you.
Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.